Welcome to Armchair Expert. What an exciting day.
The queen.
The mother of dragons.
That's right.
Daenerys Targaryen, the Khaleesi.
Oh, you love saying that.
She's here.
She's
Emilia
here.
Clarke.
Yes.
Oh my goodness, what a treat. She was in Game of Thrones, as you know, Solo, Me Before You, Terminator Genisys, and her new movie Last Christmas, which is in theaters now. What a fun hang.
Yeah. We get to talk a lot about Game of Thrones.
This is the most we've ever geeked out about someone's actual show they were on.
Yeah,
right?
That's true.
Oh, did we have some questions? And you're going to hear the answers. Please enjoy Emilia Clarke.
He's an armchair expert. He's an armchair expert. He's an armchair expert.
I do feel very honoured to be in this room.
Thank you. We're very honored. And would you like to use the open door restroom?
Oh,
You should do it.
I'm good. That's wow. I didn't realise that really is.
It's
Excellent.
It's very open.
You all are very close.
Very. Too close, some would say.
Okay.
We should tell people that
Yes.
it's been about 10 or 15 minutes.
Well, first of all, Emilia was early, which is embarrassing because we were just barely on time.
Yeah.
And then I got really excited to show her my tank top, which I've already shown her, that's what's embarrassing. This is like the second time I've wheeled this out for you. And then my mic stand just completely broke in half.
Shattered to pieces.
Oh my God. I think I'm so nervous.
But don't be. Really don't be. I'm the one who should be nervous.
No, you
No,
shouldn't be.
no.
You're our queen.
Yeah, you're
A hallowed space.
You're our goddamn queen.
Thank you.
We're gonna celebrate the shit out of you. Do you get? Does it make you uncomfortable to be celebrated?
Maybe my nervous laughter is sort of saying everything you need to hear.
Yeah, like when people give
It's
you
very
compliments,
strange.
it's hard, right?
Yes, I'm crap at taking compliments. I really, really like it when people are just like honest to a fault and it's negative. I'm like, I know what to do with that.
Right.
I don't know what to do with
Praise.
compliments.
Well, here's what I always say to Monica. If someone goes like, "Oh my God, you were so great," and I go, "Oh, thank you," to me that sounds like I'm saying I agree with you.
Totally.
Yes.
That's it. So then you don't know what to do. So you just go.
Yeah. Or you have to exhaust them by going like, "Oh, my self-image isn't that high, and I don't think I was that great, but I really appreciate you thinking that because I do want your approval."
Exactly.
Which is like way too much for them.
It's
You should
too
just say
much.
thank you. They'll be happy to take in that
I
they had a
Well,
moment.
it depends on the person as well, though, because I feel like sometimes you get people where you go, "Thanks." I'm just gonna swallow the fact that I think that I'm good as well, and I'm walking away and it's done. Thank you so much, lovely to meet you.
Yeah.
And then there are some people where you're like, yeah, well, the thing is, I'm not, and I value you saying that you think I'm great, but let's just lay our cards out.
Yeah.
I'm not. You think I am. We disagree.
Who have you gotten a compliment from where you were like, "Oh my God, I got to check my heart rate"?
Quite early, like season 3, I was in the ladies' restroom at an award thing, like a women's award thing. I can't remember what it was. And Marion Cotillard came up to me and said something. And I mean, she left. I think I fainted. I couldn't handle what she was saying. And she was so
French
beautiful
about it?
and French about it and fervent
dream.
and like real. And oh my God. And then I'm done. I can leave.
Yeah.
I can
Can leave
stop
the planet.
acting. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And that's all I needed.
But I think Kristen got a pretty impassioned aside from her as well, and it left Kristen disheveled and all fucked up.
Exactly, because she says it with this like she just has this gaze, and you're like, oh my God, being under the weight of that gaze is just the most magical experience of my life. I can't.
Yeah.
So that was.
And you're
one
in the
of them.
very, very unique position where literally every single person watches your show. Like at best, you're gonna like if you're in a movie, even if the movie's like a runaway hit, the odds are still 70% of the people, your peers, aren't going out to the movie to see it. We did, whatever. Every single human I know in this business watches Game of Thrones.
Well, so many of my friends don't.
Oh, that's healthy.
Yeah, so it's kind of nice and because I really am a Londoner. I'm based in London. I'm here much more, but when I am here, it's just a different environment of people that's saying stuff to me. So you kind of take it in different ways. but having your close circuit of friends not
Care about-
really.
yes.
Yeah.
It's healthy.
It's healthy and it's lovely.
But I am worried that your friendship circle in London has shitty taste.
Me
'Cause
too.
why aren't
What are they
watching
doing?
Game of Thrones?
Yeah.
No.
Like if I
because
meet
they couldn't afford it.
Oh, well, that makes sense. But if I meet someone that's like, Game of Thrones, I'm done listening for the rest of
Can't
eternity.
take what they have to say seriously.
No, you really can't.
No.
I actually go into total disbelief where I go, well, you didn't give it a shot, did you? You must have been
Right.
distracted, or were you on your phone?
Yeah.
Did you watch 3 episodes? I go into this kind of prosecutorial.
Oh,
Ooh,
very nice.
I don't
Nice.
think that's the real word, but you know what I'm saying.
It sounds like a real
you
word.
lawyer them.
I lawyer
Yeah.
them, and I'm
Yeah.
upset. Now, do you find Americans charming the way we find y'all British charming?
Well, yeah,
You
definitely.
do?
Yeah, for sure.
Are you sure?
Well,
Yeah, that's the right answer. Yeah. That's right.
Oh, good.
I think it's just a different. It's a different thing.
We're not. It's okay. We're just not.
No, we're not. We dress like shit.
Yeah.
No.
We go to countries and we're so fucking loud. Like I remember Kristen and I did a movie in Italy, and we were in Rome, and we were watching these families like at these outdoor cafes, and there was like people with 11 kids, and everyone was just trashing the place, and I was a little bit like, ay, we need to clean it up a little bit.
And then you started singing an
that was-
Italian song, a cliche Italian song. That's what Americans do too.
I think that's flattering, but okay, agree to disagree. But is the accent at all charming?
I weirdly have a thing for a Boston accent, which Americans think is really weird. But I'm like, no, there's something super hot about a Boston accent. I don't know what it is.
Interesting.
Wow. Did that start with looking
Ben
at
and
you,
Matt.
Probably.
Yeah.
I think.
Do you like Ben and Matt?
Do I? Good Will Hunting. Are you kidding me? I think I know it off by heart.
Oh.
I literally think I know it off by heart.
That's me. I know.
It's not your fault. It's
what
not
a scene.
your fault. Wow.
What a scene.
You guys,
Paint by numbers.
let me catch you up to speed. You're both 32. Not for long for you.
I know.
You'll be
Oy.
33 next month.
Ooh. Yep.
Yep. So you're both 32.
Mm-hmm.
We both love Good Will Hunting.
Both.
Are you ready to have your fucking mind blown?
Yeah.
Amelia's 12.5% Indian.
This is true.
Whoa.
This is really true. Yeah.
This is Dax's dream. He wishes he had a little bit of Indian.
I'm
in
just
him.
the proudest part of me.
Yeah.
It's the thing I'm most proud of.
Where I see it, can I
Yes.
tell you where I see it?
Tell me.
And this was a big fight Monica and I got in this weekend.
Okay. Yes.
I love round features. Now, hold on. Before that triggers you, because it really triggered Monica.
Right. Nobody really wants to hear that, but okay, go on.
When I say that, I mean your eyes are so big and round.
Thank you.
They're so cute. And then your nose is kind of roundish. Right? And I took her down a path of showing her all the prettiest people I thought when I was saying round features. Ashley Olsen.
Yes.
You're
Thank
in
you.
there.
Thank you.
Look at Monica's eyes. They're so big.
Well,
and
okay, but eyes is not round features, right? When you hear round features, do you think of eyes? No, you think of like the shape of the face,
Right.
nose. He was talking about lips and
Yeah.
eyes, which
Yeah.
is not right.
Right. I see the disconnect between you. I totally get what you're saying,
Okay,
Dax, and I
good.
totally get what you're saying, Monica. So one of my best mates is this amazing human being called David, and he always used to say exactly what you're saying, but he would call it bush baby.
Oh.
He was like, you got the bush baby thing.
The little primate bush
Which
baby?
is round, what you would call round features. And he's like, I know that you're not all English. I was at drama school with him, and like our first day, he was like, "There's something else in there." And I was like, "That's really weird."
But at that
'cause
time, did you know
I'm
that?
pretty white. Yeah, at the time that I did know that, and it was amazing to me that he saw it in me.
I was tempted to bring everyone up to speed, but you should do it because you're the guest. Why are you 12.5% Indian?
I'm 12.5% Indian because my grandmother was half Indian.
Her mother had an affair.
Yes. Well, we don't even. So she was born in colonial India. So she was born and raised in Delhi. They were second generation Anglo-Indian in India. So we don't even know if it was that her dad had an affair and she was the youngest of 14. This was like back in the day.
Sure.
And so we have no idea as to exactly her lineage and to whether it's Sri Lankan or whether it's Indian or Pakistani or whatever it is. We're not sure.
Well, just what I had read, which obviously is not known, is that it was your great-grandmother had an affair with an Indian gentleman, which I found to be even more exciting. I don't know why.
Well,
I felt like
that's
that
what we
flips the
assume
script.
it to be. But
Okay.
now we're like, well, I mean, it could be anything because she looked completely different to the rest of her brothers and sisters. There were 14 of them all together, and she looked completely different. They were all
White as hell.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, it's called.
She had makeup imported to make her skin whiter.
Yeah.
In shame, she got married into an abusive marriage. It was like this whole thing, and then met my granddad, and they eloped to London to get married.
So he was an expat as well, or he was a...
So he was stationed in the he was in the RAF when they met in Delhi.
Oh.
And they used to dance to Goodnight Sweetheart at Wenger's club like every night. It was like this whole Victorian romance.
And
Really beautiful.
when they made their way back to London, what jobs did they get? Like how?
Well, so they were on their way back to London. War was declared. World War II was declared. They went to Africa, where my grandmother stayed, and my granddad went off to fight the Japanese. And when he eventually came back, my mum was born, and she kept getting malaria, so they had to leave. In London, they left. My grandma had been cut out of her family, essentially, so she had nothing. My granddad had to leave the RAF early, so he had nothing. So they then went and lived in West Hampstead in complete poverty.
Oh boy!
Wow.
My mum was raised in that.
Right, like they would have been the staff at Downton Abbey.
Right. There you go. There you go. Yeah.
What if I had zero context to England other than the shows I watch?
I mean, not like that sort of that. It's
Rare.
that world that you're kind of playing in. And my grandma used to go and clean rich people's houses.
Oh, so
Wow, well, there
I mean,
you
I
go.
just
You did. You
bullseyed
nailed it.
Yeah, you were embarrassed for me,
I
and then you
was.
came back.
There you
I
go.
did. Circle
There you
back
go.
around.
That's kind of
As
a
I
regular
do.
pattern around here.
Yep.
Your father was a sound engineer,
Yeah, sound designer. Yeah.
sound designer in theater. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
You say that word, please, for me.
Theatre.
Thank you. Correct.
Okay. I just thought I got.
No, you have the cute American thing. It's nice.
Oh my-
There you go.
Don't lump all of us Americans in with that
I was hoping maybe
pronunciation.
she was going to say it the same way.
I
and
know,
was
you
gonna
were.
be like hoity-toity over you. And then mom is like a big wig, yeah.
Yeah. So she was a big businesswoman. She was working. My God, my mum worked like from 16 sort of thing.
She
and
has-
just killed it.
She has one of these jobs that you read the title and you're like, well, I know all the words in that title, but
Right.
when I put them together, that doesn't make any sense to me. So can I read it to
Completely.
you?
Yes.
She was the vice president of marketing at a global management consulting firm. Like all those words, I get it.
Yeah.
But global management consulting firm. So did she go to ailing companies and go, here's what you guys got to do. You got to fucking,
Can I tell you a secret?
you don't know.
I know. None of us know.
I mean, I know what the vice president of marketing sounds like. I know what that is, and I know what she did. She worked for Revlon. She did all of these different things.
Oh,
Like
okay.
she
cool.
was in that world, but largely in marketing for all of it. And I understand what that does.
Okay,
She'll
great.
listen to this and be cringing and going, Amelia, you have no idea what you're talking about.
None of us
But
know what our parents do. It's a theme. It's a theme. Most people don't. He does,
Yeah.
but
it's
most people
terrible.
don't.
Yeah. So I've got an idea.
Yeah.
She's a big boss.
Well, she worked a ton, obviously.
Yeah.
You were born in 86. Had she already been on that path of that career by 1986? Because you have an older brother? Do you have an older
Yes,
brother?
I do. I do. I have an older brother. Yeah. So she was, at that point, she had her own company and was doing all of that as well.
And why is she such a baller? She just is.
Oh, she just is.
She is.
She just is. She's got the ability to have a team of people around her and be maternal in that sense of like taking care of people, but also expecting the best.
Right.
And then manifesting that into really good work.
In the 80s, being a female business owner, or you know, it was dicey. I watched a lot of weird stuff where I mean, my mother put up with crazy shit that
For
by
sure.
today's standards. Was England rough that way?
Well, that's it. Yeah, 100%. 100%. And she was a part of lots of different companies that were American companies, or they were French companies, or they were, or were Swiss, or whatever it was. And she worked in a bunch of different capacities in that sense. But now, the saddest thing is, she now is working with my charity, which is
okay.
wonderful. So she's now doing that. When she stopped, we're not allowed to use the R word. Retired.
Right.
We can't say that.
I
The
don't
R
like
word
it
here is-
either. No, I don't like it either.
Well, the R word here is different
Oh,
in the U.S.
what? What?
RETARDED.
Oh,
That's what we call the R word.
What are
Really?
you? What's the R word you're saying?
Retirement. So I knew you were out to lunch on that.
I was like, yeah, none of us like that word.
Because she just said my mom is the R word.
No,
And
I
you
thought
went
I
straight
no.
to-
Okay, well, I
This
didn't know
is-
where.
Excellent. What an amazing.
Okay,
Oh, boy.
well, we spiraled out for a second, but
Yeah,
we're
like
back.
what if
We
in
bring it
England she
back.
was like,
Lost
well,
in
I was
translation.
raised by the N word, and we're like the N word, nanny. Yeah, okay. Oh wow,
But
that was a fun miscommunication.
That was my stomach flipped. So yeah, she technically retired, and then in that moment we got to look back. It was heartbreaking because I was like, you were literally paid a quarter of what you should have been paid.
Yeah.
Like you were treated in the most astonishingly terrible way
Yeah.
as a woman. Mom had no idea. She just was working the whole
Well,
time.
the bar was so low, and I'm sure by comparison, it was a notch up from the 70s.
Yeah,
So you're kind of like,
exactly.
oh, I guess it got a little better. I can actually have a title.
Well, exactly. I mean, there were times when it's like you would be fired for locking the door and pumping to breastfeed.
Oh,
And then you'd be fired for that. That's not allowed
Yeah.
then. But so, yeah, she was amazing for what she managed to do, but it's sad looking back and seeing how undervalued she was. And then as she got older, there's the ageist thing comes in there as well.
Of
and
course.
all that stuff.
Well, also, I just have to imagine such a huge chunk of her identity was that job, as we all make our
completely.
jobs our identity, right?
And she loves working,
right.
which is why she's now killing it in my charity.
Oh,
Because she's
good.
like
That's great.
appreciated and valued and like doing amazing work and way more technically savvy than I am.
And so was dad,
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure his hours were more flexible.
On tour.
Oh, he would go on tour.
Mum worked like 18-hour days as if they were nothing.
Wow.
And like travel to Europe like 3 times a week sort of thing.
Wow.
And my dad would be on tour or he'd be at home.
Oh, my, who
and
was
then
raising
occasionally
you?
he would
The N-word.
The N-word?
No, well, I mean, we had au pairs a little bit.
Uh-huh.
And then my grandparents lived with us. So we kind of had constant daycare there.
That's helpful.
nice.
And then my brother and I both went to boarding school as well. But my mum never wanted me to go to boarding school. I just really wanted to go because I was like, looks like really fun. And my brother's going. It's going to be fun.
Did you just want to do whatever he did?
Pretty much. And also like stay with your friends all day, every day for like weeks on end. That sounds great.
So now, to
In
me,
theory.
it also sounds a little lonely.
Well, I mean, you're staying in these boarding houses. So until you are 17, you're in a room with 4 other girls.
Oh, okay, I guess that's not
Yeah.
lonely.
But it's a mix, yeah. I mean, I was 13 when I went to boarding school. My parents didn't want me to go. It was a very, very good school. Ridiculous money. My parents are still paying off our school fees when we were like 30.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was
Well, you went to a
nuts.
couple different Saint something schools,
Yes,
right?
I did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Saint Anthony, is that in there?
Rice and Anthony, yeah.
Okay,
So I
okay.
went there. That was a Catholic school. We weren't Catholic, but it was the best school
Right.
for me to go to. And I wasn't smart enough to get into Oxford Girls High School, which is like a feeder for Oxbridge.
Oh, wow.
okay.
That kind of stuff. I was not there.
Right.
So I went to a nice school.
Was it separated sexes?
Rice and Anthony was a girls' school.
Uh-huh.
St Edward's, where I went for the boarding school with my brother, was mixed.
Oh, it
so that
was.
was
That's
fun.
fun.
That was fun. Yeah, imagine being like a 13-year-old girl and being like, I could stay.
Yeah.
I could stay with my pals, and there's boys there as well. Oh my god.
Yeah, was it like Hogwarts?
Slightly. Yeah, no, it really did. Our calls looked very Hogwartian.
Oh my
Monica's
God.
obsessed
No
with
floating
Hogwarts.
candles, unfortunately.
Unfortunately,
But, yeah.
but still cool. I was just thinking yesterday, I'm gonna reread.
yeah.
I'm gonna reread.
I came to Harry Potter really late.
You did?
Yeah, and I only listened to them, Stephen Fry, reading them.
Does he do a good job?
Oh my god, yes.
Oh, really?
I love Stephen Fry.
Now, could you, in this co-ed situation,
Yes.
could you guys like sneak off and meet behind a tree or anything? Were there like hiding spots to do some kissing? There were.
Yes.
Oh.
So fun.
Yes. You could be expelled for having sex, though.
Okay, but
Yeah.
everything.
But if you lock that door, no.
yeah, you turned the breast pump on, so they thought you were doing something
There you
else.
go. Then you're done. And you're sorted. Yeah.
They were sneaking around and stuff.
All that stuff.
Oh, God, that
all that
sounds
stuff.
fun.
Yeah. We would sneak out. We would get the milk float home. the boys were not allowed in the girls' common room. So in our boarding houses, you'd have all the rooms and you'd have a shared kitchen and a common room, which had the TV and you could chill there. Boys were not allowed in the girls' common room, but girls were allowed in the boys' houses' common room.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's
so
interesting.
Yeah. We snuck a boy in on our last night.
You did.
Yeah, he was drunk and asleep. And it was like, oh, there's a boy in the house.
Oh, that's
It
the
was
other
annoying.
bizarre thing for us, too, is what age can you drink there? 17, 16?
18. I had to think about that.
Oh.
Because I was drinking before I was 18. But
Yeah.
yes, 18.
But it's real. It's way more lax here, right? Even if you're not 18.
My dad would get me, do you know what Bacardi breezes are?
Sure.
yeah.
Yeah,
Sure.
he would get me Bacardi breezes from like 15 to have with dinner, so then you can like
Learn
so
how
he
to do
would-
it correctly?
Well, there you go. Yeah,
think-
we'd have
yeah.
like a lovely meal, then have a glass of wine and have like a pineapple Bacardi breezer.
Oh,
This sounds
that's
so
lovely.
heavenly.
I know. What a life.
Yeah, it made drinking, because at school as well, you had something called the junior common room, which is where on a Saturday from 17 you could drink on school premises, but only a certain amount of alcohol content.
Wow.
So you'd have these WKD blue drinks. So on the way back to the boarding houses, you would just see like blue vomit everywhere because people obviously and like beer of a low percentage.
Oh,
Wow.
okay.
But people still couldn't handle it if there's puke.
No, so we
everywhere.
would have something. It's literally, this sounds like the weirdest life
No, I
ever.
love
I'm
that.
just
Great.
remembering all of it.
We're
You'd
so
have cheese
jealous.
and biscuits on a Saturday night. So after you'd been out, so what we would actually do is we would go into the town and get genuinely drunk in a
Okay.
genuine bar with
Got
our genuine
it.
fake IDs. And then go back to the boarding house, and then we'd have cheese and biscuits with our house mistress who'd suss out if you were drunk or not. And if you were drunk, then you were, I'm going to say a word to you that makes no sense to most people anywhere, super house-gated,
Super house-gated.
house-gated.
Oh,
which basically means grounded.
okay.
But you're not allowed in your own common room. You have to wear your school uniform all day. You have to check in with the vice principal at like 7 a.m. It's a whole thing. And if you're drunk, then that happens. But if you manage to just eat enough bread before going into cheese and biscuits to prove to you that you're not drunk,
Yeah.
then you're fine.
Did you ever get super house gated?
I never got super house gated.
job.
I have no idea how I managed to like slip under the net
Good
there.
for you.
But yeah,
Well, it was probably the seeds of your acting.
could be.
That's right.
Could be. Yeah.
So you can weigh in now because
Yes.
we've had this long-standing kind of
Debate.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's not even a debate because I don't think you're blatantly disagreeing with me. It's just an inquiry. It's a long-standing inquiry about
Okay.
an inordinate amount of English women became pregnant by American GIs during World War II that were stationed in England.
Right.
But proportionally, the same amount of American women did not become pregnant from English guys.
Right.
In fact, drastically lower.
Okay.
And I read this paper in Anthropology that we cannot find, whatever,
Yeah.
that explained it that culturally in America, the woman has the brakes and the man has the gas pedal. And that in England, basically the man is supposed to say, no, let's wait. It has
Right.
the brake pedal and the woman's on the gas.
Interesting.
And so we've had a few different English guests on where we've asked them to
Okay.
kind of, do you think you could even evaluate the difference between courtship in Britain and in America? Do you
Yeah.
think women are instigating more?
It's really interesting, right? Because I dated an American, the first American I dated, he introduced me to this term of exclusivity.
Oh.
And I don't know whether it was because I was young or if I was because I was English, but I was like, what do you mean you are having sex with other people? It doesn't make sense to me. I thought that we were in a thing and we were doing the thing and that was the thing and it was just us.
Yeah.
What do you mean that you're not?
Right.
That makes me
Right.
feel weird and uncomfortable and strange, and that's very odd.
Yeah. That he had to transition into exclusivity.
Yeah, so I feel like there is a way that you date in America that is different from the way that you would date in England. And I don't know whether it's just like the globally everyone's changing, all that stuff like Tinder or whether that kind of plays into what you're saying of the dynamic between the man and the woman in England and then a man and woman in America, any romantic relationship of any capacity on either side.
But when you were younger, right, and you would be behind that oak tree at
Yeah.
Hogwarts, and you were kissing a boy,
Yeah.
would he go like, "We should wait," or
so it depends on the boy.
Okay.
It's so circumstantial, I think.
Yeah.
Because there were experiences where that was the case, and there were plenty of experiences where that was not the case.
when I read that paper, it answered this long-standing mystery in my own life, which is I went snowboarding in Vermont when I was 16.
Okay.
And I met Jenny Hazelton from Manchester.
Yes.
And we had a few pints. And we ended up in a walk-in closet of someplace.
Excellent.
And we were making out and things were progressing and progressing. And then the next thing you know, we were making sweet love in a closet.
Wonderful.
Yes. And I left the experience going, that happened very quickly.
Yes.
It was a real mystery to me for years. And then when I
Yeah.
read that paper, I was like, oh my goodness, that's what was happening. Neither of us had a brake pedal, but we haven't found unilateral
no
agreement
one
on
has
this.
substantiated
No, I mean, you guys
it.
have the base system, right? Like, which again, I still
Right.
don't understand what that is. In England, we don't have that.
Well, you don't play baseball.
We don't
so-
play baseball.
Right.
Right.
But I feel like there's okay, here's what I think. In America, there is a sort of dance that happens that is vocalized and that is discussed. There are certain expectations on the dance that happens whereby first base, second base, third base, exclusive, non-exclusive. You're over here, I'm over there. We know how this goes, and that's what it is. And in England, it's a lot more like, oh, well, there we go then. That happened, or that didn't happen, or like,
Right.
oh, that happened with you, and this happened. Do you know what I mean? I feel
do.
like there's less of a kind of perceived rule book that's discussed. A lot
There's not-
more sort of.
It's not a clear architecture or a clear steps.
Yeah. So maybe it's that the American men that were coming to England were sort of exotic in the sense of how they perceived the dance to go, and so thereby resulting in a kind of
Yeah.
in a
sex.
See, there you go.
Well,
Thank you, Monica.
we read a subsequent article not too long ago that also made sense, which is if you were to plot out the steps before having sex,
Yeah.
this researcher broke it into like 24 steps or something.
Right.
And for Americans, kissing's like number 2.
It's like the first
What?
thing.
Number 2. What was number 1?
Hold
Yeah.
hands, I guess.
Sure, sure.
And then for
That's just lovely.
for British folks, kissing's like 20. It's like right before you have sex. Like there's
Right.
all these things before you kiss. The theory was like the American GIs were just like grabbing these gals and kissing them, and they
Yeah.
were like, "Oh, we're very far down the path.
Right.
Next step is sex."
Right.
Which that also holds some water. We
Yeah,
like that
does
theory.
it? Is kissing like a more intimate thing in England?
I think that's so individual, though.
Right.
Because
think all
I
of
think
this-
kissing is an incredibly intimate thing.
Right.
But like, Pretty Woman, I do everything, but I don't kiss down the mouth.
Right, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Oh, she
Like-
was English.
No, she wasn't English.
She was on vacation from England.
was.
You are basing an entire country off of one experience you had with one girl.
2 articles and 1 experience.
No, one article that we can't find.
Right,
and,
but I did read it.
And one girl. And we don't know anything about Jenny Hazelton. Maybe the night before she got broken up with and she was like, I'm having sex tomorrow. Like, we don't know what happened.
We
that
should
made
have
her.
Jenny on.
Yeah,
Indeed.
We should find her.
Stay tuned for more Armchair Expert, if you dare.
Okay, so what I was hinting at earlier is so you would have preferred to go to the preparatory school for Oxford,
Right.
but you didn't get in there. But then when you graduated what we would call high school here, you then applied to a few different drama schools.
Correct.
Ones that there were acronyms, and I don't know. Apparently,
Right,
there were-
like 2. I applied to like 2 because I was sheltered in this boarding school environment that, by the way, I was an enigma in. Like, I was the not wealthy kid
Okay.
in a very wealthy school.
right.
Do you know what I mean? So you
I
just
do.
like, no, you don't need to come around to my house.
Yeah.
Kind of
Right.
thing.
I similarly grew up with very little money. And my whole family was obsessed with making money.
Right.
My mom worked so fucking hard to make money. I was very prone to feeling less than people with money, and I hated rich people. I'm
Right.
just still trying to get over it. But did you have any chip on your shoulder about like their
Well,
privilege?
we've got the class structure in England. It's here. You guys have it too, but in England, it's like a whole other thing.
Oh, tell us.
So you've got upper class, middle class, lower class, right? That's
Yeah.
sort of, but in England for a very, very, very long time, you have upper class where you could be called house poor. So you have been an incredibly wealthy family for hundreds and hundreds of years, and you own the stately manor, but you can't afford shoes.
Right, I've read about this.
Oh,
Like those
interesting.
houses require so much
Threadbare.
money
Old
for
money.
upkeep. right?
Yeah,
That
so
people
you're
go
living
broke.
in one room with a tiny heater, and no one has. I have friends like this where they technically come from huge, vast amounts of old money, but they technically themselves have nothing. So it's this bizarre world of being incredibly posh and privileged, but not actually having any money to. But you're still in that bracket, but
no around
shoes.
town money.
Yes, exactly.
And then below that is what? Just like, because there's also rich people without titles, right?
Yes,
that
exactly.
must annoy the lords.
So you've got new money sort of thing. It's all of these terrible terms.
Yeah.
But I mean, they've been around in England for a very long time. So when you go to a very privileged, old school, rich school, you've got a mix of people who like get a Happy Wednesday present as like, from Tiffany's or whatever. And then you've got people who have seven generations of hand-me-downs but live in a castle and are called lord. And then you've got, someone whose parents spent all of their money on sending you to that school because they thought they were giving you the best option that you had. And you actually came from a very middle class.
But were you embarrassed by the fact that you didn't have money like they did?
Well, yeah, and it was more that like what that kind of school does and what we have is that like you end up coveting a status that is completely forever out of your reach because you're not a lord.
Right.
'Cause you're not, your family doesn't go back generations of being like Henry VIII's.
Yeah.
So when people
Whatever.
get knighted, right? We read
Yes.
about that. They're like Sir Anthony Hopkins
Yes.
was knighted, right? So
Yes.
he wasn't from that class, or he would have just already been one.
No. So that, I mean, you can, that being knighted on your merit of what you've provided England with is completely away from the class structure that you were born into. But it can really fuck people up.
But will it that carry on? Like, so let's say that Sir Anthony Hopkins has some children. He may
Right.
already have children, whatever.
Yeah.
Do they then carry this title? Are they now?
I don't know. I don't think so.
I don't think
That's
so.
something that I don't know.
It's its own thing.
Oh,
Isn't it
it's-
its
it's
own
separate.
thing?
Monica's going to check
I'll
this
fact
later.
check
You're
it.
going to go down a deep rabbit
I
hole.
will. That'll be a fun one, actually.
Yeah.
Sirs and
Yeah.
Ladies.
lords.
Okay, so what you did though get into the Drama Center of London.
Yes.
Yes, and did you love that immediately?
Yes.
You did.
So that was, first time round I applied to like 2 because I wasn't in the acting world, but I wanted to be an actor from like 2 years old.
Because your dad, you would go to the theater with your dad.
Exactly.
The theater
Yes.
with your father, and you liked it.
Yes, I loved it. The magic of it. I watched a lot of TV, I watched a lot of film. I was kind of obsessively into acting and all that it could bring. And then was like, when I'm 18, I'll go to drama school. And so then kind of thought that would just happen, and then realised that I'd been in a very academic environment that wasn't maybe very nurturing of like people who wanted to go to drama school. So all of my excuses as to why I didn't get in anywhere. The first time round, and then the second time round, I applied to every drama school and only was on the wait list for
Okay.
one, which was Drama Centre, and a girl broke her leg and I got in.
Oh, thank goodness.
Thank
Oh,
goodness.
We thank
I
her.
still that spot, yes.
We blew by one thing that I forgot to say. You have 11 names.
You have a lot of names.
Listen to this name,
I
Monica.
hear it.
Amelia, Isabel, Euphemia,
Correct. Well done.
Rose, Clarke.
Wow.
It's a lot of names.
Who are all
What-
those
yeah,
people? Were you
what-
I
named
know.
after like
Super indecisive parents.
a whole
basically.
side of one of your family? Like, is that all the females in your family? or
Yeah, well, so I was called something else for ages, and then they just decided on Emilia because I didn't look old enough to be called Isabel as my first name.
something? Okay.
Go figure. I mean, I was a newborn child.
Right.
So Isabel was, I think, someone on my granddad's side. Euphemia was my grandmother's actual name.
Oh,
We called her
that's-
Fifi, but
that's
she was called
beautiful.
Euphemia.
What a cool
And then-
name.
I love it. Yeah.
Rose, I think, was on my dad's side. But yeah, they just couldn't decide.
They just crammed it all
Yeah,
in.
Good for
I
That's
think they
great.
probably wanted more kids than there were us. So like, we'll give her all of the names, just the last one.
So you graduated in 2009,
Yes,
right?
you say that and it sounds right.
Okay, yes. By the time you auditioned for Game of Thrones, 2010, you've done like a
Yes.
dozen plays. You were in a soap opera in London.
I
yeah?
definitely didn't do a dozen plays.
Okay.
No, I did a dozen part-time jobs.
Okay.
Yes, and a terrible TV movie.
Yeah, so I'm just kind of setting the stage for what a wonderful leap forward it kind of
love you.
It was, right?
Thanks.
I mean, granted, you're still quite young at that time because you auditioned when you were 24, I think, for Game of Thrones.
23.
23.
Uh-huh.
And your audition, which it's not what we probably would have imagined, right? You did a bunch
No.
of weird stuff.
Yeah, well, so the first audition was with Nina's casting assistant, Robert. So Nina Gold cast Game of Thrones. Robert was her right-hand man, and I think he's now gone on to do his own. He's fabulous. And it was me and Robert in a little room with a camera and the scene, and he was probably the reason why half the people are on Game of Thrones. He reads so well. I don't know if you've done an audition where you got someone who's just like reading it. like,
every audition.
It was like he wanted you to get it. Anyway, so we do this and it gets sent off to David and Dan. And then I get a recall and I meet David, Dan, Carolyn Strauss and Frank Dolger in a little room in Soho. And I do the thing for them. Mm-hmm. And then about a week goes by and then they're like, in 3 weeks, we'd like you to come to LA. We will fly you business class. We will put you up in a hotel. And you're going to come in and you're going to do the scene with the guy that we've cast, Harry Lloyd, in front of everyone at HBO.
Wow.
Oy.
And I was like, cool.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. Let me just
Excellent.
grab my Xanax and some beta
Yeah.
blockers and
Yeah.
I'll be there.
Yeah. So I read the book twice.
Oh my
I
gosh.
like 11 other
Did you
part-time
like
jobs.
the
I was
book?
not doing anything. Loved it.
You did?
Absolutely loved it.
I've never
Yeah.
read it, but the first season, right, is a song of Ice
The
and Fire.
the first season is verbatim season 1 of the show.
Okay.
Had no idea what it was. Had no idea really. I mean, I knew about The Sopranos, but like HBO was just this unknown other
Yeah.
that was just
Yeah.
like some big. And I'd never been to LA.
You'd never been to LA.
And you been to America? USA?
Yes, I
You went to New York at some point?
Yes, a bunch because we had my mum's cousin lived in New York, so we used to
okay.
go to New York a bunch.
Okay, so you fly to LA,
Yes.
and how many folks are in the room?
I feel like I blacked out for the whole experience, but I think there was probably like 20 people there in like a cinema auditorium.
Yeah. Wow.
Essentially, like they obviously did in like a screening room. Now I know what it is. I
Right.
was like, oh, this is just where like obviously because people are in the movies, all the meetings happen in these big cinema rooms. That makes complete sense.
Yeah.
So Harry was there, and I was there, and the only faces that I recognized were 3 faces: David, Dan, and Frank.
Uh-huh. You did the scenes, but then you ended up doing a bunch of other weird shit, right?
Yeah, well, because beforehand, Frank had taken me aside and was like, listen, sweetie, there's going to be things that they might ask you to do outside of just doing the scenes. And I'm like, okay, cool.
Oh my God.
Right. What does that mean? And he was like, it's cool. Everything's fine. I just want you to be aware. They might ask you some questions. They might blah, 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 blah. Just, be prepared. It's all good. Little did I know that they were gunning for me to have HBO sign off on me because I was a complete
Unknown.
Yeah.
a total, like it was a complete gamble. So I was kind of going in with their hopes as well as my own.
Yeah.
And so at the end, I was just so nervous and just so scared. I had dressed up. I mean, like I had my hair blown out, I was wearing a little dress, and I did not look willowy or tall or any of the things that they were expecting the chick who had played
she
the
was
part
supposed to be willowy and tall.
willowy and tall and ethereal and all of those things and little round face turns
Yeah.
up.
Round
Bring it.
features.
What? Round features.
Oh.
Turns up. And yeah, David Benioff, I was like, can I do anything else? What else can I do? I just
Yeah.
want this. What else? I'm here. This is what do you want me?
Does theater need cleaning?
Yeah, exactly. I'm great. I can make a cup of tea. And David was like, well, you could do a dance. Ha ha ha. Because he's really on a very dry sense of humor. I took him literally and I did one.
You did one. You
wow.
I
the
did one. I
dance,
did the I did the funky chicken, and then they were seeming to be loving it. So I carried on and did the robot.
They seem to love it.
And that
I
was
can see
it.
this going south. Like you do the chicken dance.
Yeah,
It's a big hit.
yeah,
Then you're like, I'm gonna bang out some Running Man.
yeah,
Some
exactly.
Running Man, everyone's
Yeah.
still in.
Yeah.
And then you do like the Cabbage Patch, and people are like, ooh.
Took a turn, took a little turn.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Try and do the worm, knock myself out. Like, yeah.
And now
Yeah.
someone else was cast, right? And then someone went sideways. We don't know what that is. We don't
I
care.
didn't know that.
Yeah. And then
They
so
shot the pilot.
they shot the pilot.
They shot the pilot with a few other cast members.
Oh wow.
I feel like Lena was a recast. I was a recast, and I always forget who the other person was. So they shot it with this other girl, shot it to HBO, and HBO were like, no, we like it, but no. So they had to change a bunch of stuff and recast a bunch of people. And so I was coming in off the back of that.
You now know that they fire people if they
Yeah.
right like
But already I'm like, I'm not even meant to be in LA, let alone in this room, let alone in this like environment. I've got imposter syndrome times a bajillion. I couldn't even remotely fathom what it was.
yeah, it's very extreme.
Yeah.
It's very extreme.
Yeah.
So then so your role in the pilot was all reshoots.
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
Which I didn't know because for me it was all
new
shoots.
to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that girl.
Mm-hmm.
I know. It's like the person in the Beatles.
That
who
is
didn't end
rough.
up in the Beatles.
Yeah.
I don't think I can take that compliment, but thank you.
It is. I mean,
Oh boy.
That's
All right, before we continue, I just want to play one game with you. I want
Okay.
you to tell me what character this is from the show. Okay?
Okay.
I'm going to cover my face so
Okay.
you don't get
Okay.
embarrassed for me.
Okay.
I do this for, I might have to cover
Yeah.
Monica too. You ready?
Yes.
Khaleesi.
Were you being Sajora just then? Yes,
job.
you were.
You would hate to watch the show with me, as
I
Monica will
would
tell you.
love it.
We watch
Do you-
it in a group,
Yes.
and probably every 8 minutes I go,
yeah.
Khaleesi.
it's like a tick. It's a tick.
It
He
is a
like
tick.
can't.
That's
not do
uncanny
it.
though.
It's
That is
good.
uncanny. It's very, very, very good.
It is good.
Yeah. Oh, the intensity. I miss it.
Khaleesi. It's so intense. It's so, he liked you so much. We can all relate. Okay. Now I want to get into some yummy Game of Thrones. By the way,
Okay.
are you sick of talking about Game of Thrones? You- a
No,
little bit?
because it changes all the time.
It does.
Yeah, you're not going to believe me when I say this, but I mean it with complete sincerity. It was 2 weeks ago that I suddenly was just sitting in my room thinking about stuff and went, that was like a very big thing.
Oh,
Yeah.
totally.
That was 2 weeks ago. We all did. I was talking to Bernie, my love. Bernie Caulfield, who's one of the main producers on the show, reason why the show happens. And then David and Dan. And we were all talking. We were all discussing how we basically went 10 years ago. We were like, hey guys, get in this bunker. It's real warm. We got some stuff going. It's cool. Shut the door. And we stayed in the bunker for 10 years. And then we just suddenly like came up and like looked around and went, that was fucking crazy. That was really weird.
Yeah, because the job itself is so different from the product and so different from the reaction.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I feel like very nature of what we do is we're wrestling with the idea of people's gaze on you. You've got the camera's gaze on you, and you're searching to try and communicate with that camera all the things that you need to be communicated for the sake of a storytelling point of view,
While also ignoring it.
while also completely ignoring it
Yeah.
and ignoring your own human reaction to the fact that you're being all of these things. And then the reverberations of that is that then you're wrestling with a body of humans watching the other side of that camera, what that gaze is then on you, and how you dissect that within yourself and how you figure out where you fit in that. And for me, I just decided to ignore all of it.
Well, right. I think you're getting into what it almost is. It's like there's a little bit of a mind trick that you do to be able to act in front of 100 people. There's some disassociated aspect of it.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah,
almost
yeah.
like you build this imaginary wall where it's like you exist within there, but that's not you and blah, blah, blah. And then so weirdly, that wall stays up even when it's like now on TV.
No, exactly. And you never, like, we as human beings can never, ever, ever, you'll never know what someone thinks of you. You're never in someone else's brain. You'll never fully understand what it is because you can't see yourself because you don't know what you look like to someone else because you never will. And so that on screen is times a bajillion. And then you've got this epic story that you're telling. For me, on top of all of that, it was being new to the game and realizing that at a hair's breadth, it could all just disappear. So if I put my self-worth on it, I would inevitably end up very sad.
Yes. Especially if you start with, as you said, like imposter syndrome, which I certainly had too in my own life. Now, I do feel like you would at least be spared the hating watching yourself. Just do you pick apart your own looks, even though you're pretty flawless looking?
Oh my God, do I?
You do?
Fuck yeah.
Oh, see, Monica, we were just arguing about this too. I was saying, I really don't think there's anyone that looks in the mirror and is like, fuck yeah, motherfucker. I think we were talking about Brad Pitt going, what is it like to have 100% of the time been the most handsome man in the room?
Yeah.
Like never walked into a
Yeah.
room in his whole life where
Yeah.
he wasn't the handsomest. That's just very fascinating.
Right.
Yeah.
But he comes across as kind of humble.
I
does.
know.
I bet he has
No,
some narrative
right.
that he either let's just hypothesize. He's like, I'm cheesy looking or I'm generic
Right.
or whatever. I bet he's got some silly
Yeah.
narrative.
Well, I think it's something to do with how much emotional intelligence you have. Because, I don't know, me and my mate Lola always talk about this. We're like, when we have kids, what we hope is that they are beautiful and stupid because they'll always be happy.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Because they're unaware of what it is that they are dealing with. If it's beautiful, then they just are like, cool.
Yeah.
And there's no questioning that, and that's whatever that is.
Yeah.
But I think that if you've got a high emotional intelligence, then you're always going to be trying to figure out how people are looking at you. And then if you put your worth on how you look, then you instinctively then go, oh, I've got to pay more attention to that, and I've got to look at that even more, and that's going to be the thing. And then you've realized that that's deeply unfulfilling, and then you've got to figure out that I need to expand my brain and have that be the thing that I rely on to make me find meaning. And those things are so complicated, and they're so kind of...
They are, because now that I'm thinking about it, I bet, even someone who has your face will probably watch...
I'm very thankful.
You're just, no, you don't even, you don't have to say thank you.
Yeah.
You don't have to say thank you. But I guess everyone's like looking at their own body. So even if you have like a face, maybe you're like, well, I have no objections with my face. Maybe I want to look this way or that way. I guess it just never stops.
Yeah, especially with this idea of being on camera and how you look and how someone else looks at you and what other people think of you and how other people look at you. And then that changes how you look at yourself.
Yes.
Which is annoying.
Okay, so I don't even know where to start, but there's two things, because before I objectify you, which is coming, I'd like to first objectify the men in the show. You know, your first lover in the show is fucking Jason Momoa.
I know.
Khal Drogo.
I know.
I mean, can we just...
Landed on my feet, didn't I?
Yes. I mean, when you like,
sure
you're like,
did.
hey, so, we're about to shoot this thing. You're going to meet Khal Drogo. Jason Momoa steps up.
Yeah.
Are you like, what the fuck is this? I mean, were you bowled over?
I mean, physically bowled over. He literally, when he first met me, he wrestled me to the ground.
Oh, of course
to
he
the
did.
ground.
Oh, of course.
I was so English before then. I had never been greeted. I'd never met anyone his size, let alone his size of personality, his size of like, hey, wifey. Like, that's a terrible version of him. But yeah.
Because he's got like some Hawaiian spirit. Is that what it is?
He's got it, and then some.
Just wow. I just let's celebrate the fact that you're you were first in too.
I was, lucky me.
Yeah, you got in at the ground
there we
floor.
go. Yes, I did. He's one of those incredibly rare people who their personalities and their spirit is as big as he is. Like, it's the double whammy. It's not just that he's a big guy.
Yeah.
It's that he's like...
devouring life.
Yeah, he just radiates. Like, whenever room he's in, he takes up the whole room. Because he's just like, whoom.
Wow.
And it's fucking beautiful. He took care of me too. Yeah.
He did.
He really, really, in an environment where I didn't know I needed to be taken care of.
Yeah, you're young. You have imposter complex. You have to do nudity.
Yeah.
Is that not terrifying?
Yeah, it is terrifying.
Yeah. And then now your scene partner is this fucking gorilla, this beautiful gorilla.
I know.
And the first scenes are like, they're virtually rape scenes, right?
Yes.
I mean, they're
He was
aggressive.
crying more than I was.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's only now that I realize how fortunate I was with that, because that could have gone in many, 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 many different ways. Because Jason had experience. He was an experienced actor who had done a bunch of stuff before coming onto this. He was like, sweetie, this is how it's meant to be, and this is how it's not meant to be, and I'm going to make sure that that's the fucking case. So it was always like, can we get her a fucking robe? Can we get her a goddamn robe? She's shivering. Like, it was a lot of that. And this is like complete balls out honesty. He was so kind.
He was a prince.
And and considerate, and like cared about me as a human being.
Was he already with Lisa Bonet?
Yes.
Okay, that's my number one of all time.
Yeah.
Angel Heart.
She does not have round features.
She is
does. Her eyes are
probably
so
the
wide.
most extraordinary beauty.
Maybe the roundest.
Ever.
Yeah.
But I feel like she's the... We're in good.
You're right. That's right. That's true.
If he's
Sure.
giving it to...
Well, really, he's just saying everyone has round features. It sounds
Everyone
like.
I like basically has round features. Like if someone said, like, how would you describe round features? And I go, I just, I like them.
Yeah, they're just the ones I like.
They're good.
So he was already with her. So
Yes, and I think that she gives him so much. Like, there's a gentleness that she has that's exquisite.
Mm-hmm.
Like, when you talk to her, you're like, it takes your breath away how kind of magical that is. And I have no doubt that a lot of the way that he sees women is educated from that.
Sure.
I felt that for sure.
So do I have more questions about Jason Momoa?
No.
Okay. I've said enough. Okay. Now, Kit
God love
Harington,
him.
Jon Snow.
Yes.
I'm just going to say it. His fucking buns in the lovemaking scene this year, this
I
last
know.
season. Oh my goodness.
Of steel.
They're
Yeah.
the most beautiful buns I've ever seen on a man.
They're very sweet.
I was suspicious that it was a double because they're so perfect. I had to go back frame for frame.
Yeah.
Again, there's like 12 people watching with us, and
Yeah.
they've got to sit through me going, fucking A, those are his buns.
Yeah, he's one of those enigmas, right? Where he's just like, he doesn't need to do that much, and he's just
Yeah.
head to toe.
Oh.
Lucky.
And he's one of those actors that in real life you're like, no, you look the same as you do on screen, you bastard.
You piece of shit.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Now, with all respect, is he married? He's married?
Yes, he's
okay,
married.
all right. So we're going to be very respectful about this. But what's very interesting is like, you must have watched the show as well, right?
Yes.
Yes. And so what's interesting is you too were watching the show, but you were never working with him, right?
No.
Ever.
Ever.
Did you, I mean, what would you meet him at, like the premieres of this shit?
Yeah, so season 1 was like a hope and a wing and a prayer. And we were all in it together, and we would pull like 24-hour days. And like everyone just was like drunk or tired or sick or whatever it was, but it didn't matter because we were all in it together, and it was beautiful. And so me, Kit, Richard Madden, Alfie Allen, Finn Jones. I mean, basically, there were a bunch of British actors all at the same age. And so we all found one another.
Oh,
and
fun.
we all got pals. And we stayed pals consistently throughout the whole thing. So Kit and I have been mates from like back in the day.
Okay. Because I guess I
Yes.
imagine that you guys were
Even
always
though we
in
were
different
separate.
locations.
Always in different locations,
Oh,
but
okay.
always in the same party location.
Okay.
Ah,
great.
sure.
You know what I'm saying? Always in the same one of those locations. And there would be times when it would be quite desperate and we would miss each other. But so Kit and I have been pals for a very long time. And
Okay.
I am actually best friends with his wife. So I met his wife obviously through him and then was like, I'm taking her. I'm stealing her. But bye now. Thank you very much. She's all mine. And we're super tight. And so Kit, Rose and I have consistently been very, very good friends.
That's fun.
But it just meant that when we did finally act together, the first scene Kit and I ever shot together,
It's hard to take
an
each other serious.
fucking embarrassment. I was like, bro, we are better actors than this. The crew were like, it's not funny, guys. It's not funny. And we're like, but it's hilarious.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
in his costume. What's he doing? Don't tell me you're doing that voice, dude. That's not your fucking voice. Like, come on, please. Let's just pull this shit together.
And you're in the big blonde wig.
Yeah, and he's like, "Well, you look like a bloody idiot because you're wearing like, what are you doing?" And it took a good few whiles for us to be like serious, and then we're meant to be seriously like doing the kind of courtship of the two characters and the romance, and we're just like.
No, but it was.
So it was a lot of that, and then we were done, and we were like, "Oh, thank God, that's done. Okay, cool. Can we just go and like have a drink and just be normal again?"
God bless you, boy.
Yeah.
The thing that I always find with any sex scene or any romantic scene, really, is after you've done the kissing, this has happened every single time. Kit's the only exception because we were both weird and we were like, this is fucking weird. I can't look at you, bro. This is strange. And like, we kept doing this every time we look at each other. We go, so he's the only exception. But other than that, you're super tactile afterwards. It's like this weird fucking thing where I'm like, you want to hug it out? Let's hug it out. We're done. And thank you. And we'll see you tomorrow morning and it'll be a completely different situation. But in the time after you've had a romantic scene of whatever capacity, there's like this human in you that's like,
Oh, yeah.
but I feel a little weird. This is so strange. You want to do a little hug? Okay, cool. We're good? And we're done. Just like a minutia, more tactileness. That doesn't make any sense, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Afterwards, because
De-escalation.
yeah, de-escalation.
A little bit.
There, that's exactly it.
Stay tuned for more Armchair Expert, if you dare.
Now, onto the nudity. It's such an interesting dynamic that women generally have to find themselves in more than men. Although increasingly
Yes.
so, like Euphoria, there's penises everywhere, which
Right,
I love.
no, of course,
I love.
of course.
But certainly conventionally and traditionally, women who want a great role are
Mm-hmm.
often going to get asked to be nude. Is that a dicey dynamic? Is it easier when you're first getting into it and then it slowly starts going like, wait a minute, why am I the one that's always nude?
Yeah, well, it's a really fascinating thing. So my adult life has been the show. It's been 10 years of the show, and that's my whole career thus far. And I have been doing this at the most fascinating and
Oh, yeah.
shifting times for that.
You're right. If they did the pilot right now,
Very different
it
situation.
wouldn't be different. It would
very,
be different.
very
Yeah.
different situation. And so season 1 was what it was. It was a fuck ton of nudity. I
There was an
normally don't
SNL
like.
sketch about it. Did you see
Yeah,
that?
no, but I'm sure
You didn't?
it's ripe for the
Oh, there was a great
SNLing.
Saturday Night Live sketch. I think Andy Samberg played one of the creators of the show.
Oh, wow.
And he was 12.
Oh no! Yes, I have. Yeah. Titties or something.
Yeah. And he had like braces and shit. And he was
Yeah.
giggling. And
Yeah.
okay.
Yes.
So
Wait, go on. You were
So season 1, there was all of that. Mm-hmm. Obviously, I took the job, and then they sent me the pilot. They sent me the scripts, and I was reading them, and it was like, oh, there's the catch. There's the.
yeah.
Okay, all right then. But I come fresh from drama school and was like, approach this as a job. If it's in this script, then it's clearly needed. Then this is what this is, and I'm going to make sense of it. And this is my job, and that's what I'm going to do, and everything's going to be cool. So I kind of came to terms with that beforehand, and then going in and doing it. And I was in such a like, oh my God, other world of like, I'm floating through this first season. I have no idea what I'm doing. I have no idea what any of this is. I've never been on a film set like this before.
Yeah.
I've been on a film set twice before then.
Yeah.
And now I'm on a film set completely naked with all
Yeah.
of these people. And I don't know what I'm meant to do. And I don't know what's expected of me. And I don't know what you want. And I don't know what I want. Regardless of whether there'd been nudity or not, I would have spent that first season thinking I'm not worthy of requiring anything. I'm not worthy of needing anything at all
Right.
because
You hit the lottery. You're lucky.
yeah, exactly. And like I have that anyway. So imposter syndrome times a million. So whatever I'm feeling is wrong. I'm going to go cry in the bathroom, and then I'm going to come back and we're going to do the scene. It's going to be completely fine. But it was definitely hard. Which is why the scenes when I got to do them with Jason were wonderful because he was
so
like, "No,
protective.
sweetie, this isn't okay,"
Right.
and I'm like, "Oh,
I'm tempted in my mind. In fact, I did go back in my mind. I'm like, oh, I've been naked like 3 times on a set. And I'm like remembering my experience with that. But then I'm realizing like it's such a different thing. It's so different for a man to be naked.
yeah,
So
because
different.
the crew is always going to be predominantly 80% male.
well,
right?
yeah."
It's not
if
80%
more. Mm-hmm.
female. Also, females don't commit sex crimes on
Exactly.
men.
Mm-hmm.
There's such a different dynamic. But initially, I'm just
Yes.
like, oh, I've been there. And then I kind of forget.
Right.
But I'm in such a different situation culturally.
Well, yeah. And also, this is going to sound really base, but logistically, there's more to cover.
Yeah.
But when you're being required to be naked as a woman, there's something to be covering on the top half, there's something to be covering on the bottom half, there's kind of.
Yeah, y'all will have to, like, Kristen has to wear like just a pasty really over your vagina. There's just like
That's-
a little,
yeah.
like a piece of
I know
fabric.
too much about nudity waivers and about nudity
Oh my
cover-up
God, they're
things.
so complicated, aren't they? Those
Yes.
contracts they bring to you.
Yes.
And people
and you don't know what
wouldn't
you're
know this.
signing. I mean, this was back in the day. So now things are different. Now things are very,
Yeah.
very, very different. And I'm a lot more savvy about what I'm comfortable with and what I am okay with doing. Like I've had fights on set before where I'm like, no, she
Yeah.
stays up. And they're like, you don't want to disappoint your Game of Thrones fans. And I'm like, fuck you.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know they
Yeah,
do.
yeah.
They put the weight of the whole project on the actress's shoulders in those situations.
And I feel like I've seen enough now to know what is actually needed. Because that's the other thing.
Yeah.
I was also, little did I know, protected by the show in terms of the storytelling being at a very high level.
Yes.
The people they were hiring being at a very high level.
Well, that's the weird thing that makes all the whole thing's decided whether you regret it or not and how good the thing turns out, which
Exactly.
is interesting. So
Well,
it's
exactly.
inherently a tricky dynamic, yet I love nudity.
Right.
I like it in males, females. I just love it. The more we watch Euphoria, we call each other after we see the penises. We're so excited.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we're like excited, like that's new and that, but
Yeah.
but it's not the same as like when girls are watching the guys' penises. No,
They're not jerking off.
No, they're
No,
not.
you're
They're
right.
not.
No.
And like
They're not putting it up on a website and then dudes
exactly.
are.
And when women
Yeah.
are, there's the chance that guys could definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, no, there was all of that I just ignored was even, and so then when there was a slight repercussion, like the reason why I don't Google myself, I'm very glad I learned it very early and I don't look at anything at all, ever,
Yeah.
was because when I did after season 1, I just saw articles about like how fat my ass was.
Oh my God.
Why would a girl do this?
Oh
Da, da, da,
my
da. And I'm like,
God.
you know what? I'm a kid, man. Like, cut me some goddamn slack. But the thing is that with this character, I've had so many people say so many different things to me about the nudity thing, about specifically Khaleesi's nudity in the show. And people wouldn't care if you hadn't had seen her be abused.
Oh, totally.
You wouldn't fucking care.
You were so vulnerable.
had to-
if you were covered
yeah.
up, like there is a layer of vulnerability that happens when someone's naked.
You
But
had to see it.
if the goal of some project is to like manipulate people's emotions, which it is, when I see all those penises in that locker room, I'm alert. I'm like giddy. Oh, this is weird. I feel like it really does
Yeah.
induce into me some titillation or weird feeling that is the
No.
desired effect.
It
So
sort of makes it real, doesn't
Yeah.
it? Like if you're
Yes.
walking around a dude's changing room, you're going to see a load of penises.
That's
and then when you
right.
see it on TV, you're like, whoa, we're in normal land. This is interesting.
yes,
Yeah.
they've established the truth of the thing, the
Exactly.
rules of it.
Exactly. Yeah, and when I did the last nudity that I did for the show, which was walking through the fire second time around,
Yeah.
I was like, I'm owning this. This is mine.
Yeah.
They've asked me
Yeah.
to do it, and you know what? I'm fucking game. And again, but it brings into question the thing of like what it is like being under the gaze of people you'll never meet,
Yeah.
people you'll never know.
Yes.
And what that is. So when you're doing theatre, you get it instantly, right? You do the play, you do the show, whatever it is.
You saw
and you
all them
see
observe.
all of their eyes, and you feel some applause, or you don't, or whatever it is. You get an immediate end to that transaction.
Yeah.
Whereas when you're doing film, you're like, I have a relationship with this camera, and I have no idea what's on the other side of it. But there are however many people's gazes through that lens looking at me that you'll never be able to get what that is. And
Yeah.
that's fucking confusing when you're a young girl.
1,000%. In fact, I think the big key to staying sane while doing a very public occupation is you really just have to say to yourself, like, who am I thinking about? Like, these are
Yeah.
people I will never meet in my life. I have a circle of people that are in my life. I know what those people think of me. So why am I concerned about what people that are not in my... I have an obligation to the people in my life to be
Yeah.
a certain way and act a certain way. But beyond that's no one can have that obligation. So it's kind of like you got to kind of put up a wall, right? Where you're like,
Right.
yeah, a lot of people are going to think a lot of things and I'll never meet them.
Well, that's exactly it.
Yeah.
Exactly. And you'll never know. And some people will think lovely things and some people think terrible things.
Well, my very first movie, I was in New Zealand and I jumped off waterfalls and I canoed down class 4 rapids and I did all this stuff. And I was like, yeah, sign me up. But as I've gotten older and done it longer, I'm like, I don't think I want to get in that water. It's freezing.
Right,
So
yeah.
I do wonder, because you guys, that show was so fucking hard. You were in cold climates.
Oh
you were
my
all over
God,
the place.
yeah.
As it went
All my
on,
firsts.
did your tolerance of it diminish? Mine would have.
It definitely changed, but I was lucky because as Daenerys built in stature, she had to do less of that stuff.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like the worst thing I had to do was sitting on the back of a green dragon for months on end.
I bet those scenes would have been so hard to film. Those are the,
Yeah.
I just watch that and I
could.
go, oh, this bitch is on a fucking God knows what, a bicycle seat.
Yeah.
And she's got to be and they're telling
Yeah.
her like, now the dragon turns left.
Right.
Oh my God, that's
exactly
the most
how it goes.
egg on the face
and they're
stuff,
there
right?
going like hyperventilating, being like, when I watch this back, it's going to be the highest stakes moment for her entire
Yeah.
trajectory as a character, and
Wow.
in reality, it's me and like 7 other people in this big old room, and no one's really watching.
Yeah, like the core relationship of your character that was consistent through the whole thing was those fucking dragons. So
Yeah.
like your main scene partner.
Imaginary.
Oh,
Yeah.
so hard.
Oh my God. And
But
would you
in
be-
that sense, very good, because you can endow that imaginary other with everything, as opposed to sometimes you get to work with wonderful actors who give you a huge amount and sometimes you don't. But when you got an imaginary thing you're working with, you're like, you know what? I'm acting opposite Brando right now. Like I've decided that this dragon has given me gold.
Yeah.
So, Khaleesi,
Yeah.
Ian, my absolute there you go. You attack it, Khaleesi. So he was kind of like my mentor throughout the whole show. He really like guided me as an actor and was really, I love him.
He's awesome.
He's my guy. And I'll never forget, in season 3, there was a frame that was set up with like the explosions and the thing and the that and the thing. And he was like, darling, come over and have a look at this. And he was like, just look at what you're about to walk into. Just look at that frame. You are so taken care of. You need to do nothing.
Because
this is rare. This doesn't happen throughout your career. Like, know what this is. And I was like, fuck, you are absolutely right. And I'll still go searching for it in every other job. But essentially, he showed me something that was so helpful to me for the rest of the show. I can afford to be as vulnerable as humanly possible because I'm taken care of.
Sorry, not to go back to nudity, but I just did want to say it's so interesting how you're saying the last scene that you did where you felt empowered to do it. It's such a mirroring of the character, like starting out 100%. Nude and vulnerable, and
exactly. And so it was. I was in the right frame of mind for each of those scenes.
Yes.
If you want to be like methody about it.
That's so interesting.
But that's exactly it. But I also knew what I needed to do, and I knew that I would get people saying like, "You're always naked," and I'd have to be like, "Fuck you, I'm not always naked, and this is why, and I'm good with this." So it's my body, back off. And that was again me getting to a new place with what that felt like.
It's so cool.
Forward.
Yeah.
Okay, now this is neither here nor there, but I just feel like I want to tell you. Besides you, of course, my favorite character is the Hound.
Oh, what a good choice. Chicken. What a good choice.
I fucking love him.
Rory, you would get on with Rory so well.
Would we wrestle on the sand and he would destroy
he
me?
would get you on his boat and you would go sailing. He literally is in a Hemingway novel, consistently. We have the same British agent and he was trying to track him down to tell him about a great job opportunity. The agent had to call the Coast Guard to put out a thing that was like, Rory, call your fucking agent, mate. You've got a job. You can come home now. And he lives on an island in Scotland and he's just the most authentic, beautiful, amazing.
He's in a poem.
Oh, he's fabulous.
Okay. My wife's fallen in love with probably 4 people she's worked with.
Okay.
I got to say at the very top of that list is Peter Dinklage.
Oh, I mean, when I first met him, we were at a party together and it was like he was just like, he looks at you and he hears you.
Yeah.
And you're like, why is this rare?
Yeah.
Why is this so intoxicating? And then I look over and at this my mum had visited set and I turned around and I was like, she's blushing. She's fucking blushing.
Yeah.
Oh, God
Peter
bless
is
him.
making her blush.
He's shining his light on everyone.
Yeah. And then again, has the most beautiful, badass motherfucking wife on the planet. I liked when we were working together in Belfast, I would go over and take care of the kids.
Oh, you would?
Oh, that's fun.
Oh, that's lovely.
Like we would all hang out. But he's remarkable.
I don't read like fan stuff. I'm not on Facebook, so I don't know what the general reaction was. But I certainly was like, hold on a second. I'm all in on Khaleesi. I've always been all in on the Khaleesi. And I don't know. I don't know.
The turn.
It was a big turn.
What did you think? What was your God's honest, what did you feel?
Honestly, I felt like they had to do something.
Right.
They had to wrap this up in some way. You know, what were they going to do? The whole time I'm like, motherfuckers, get married. Jon Snow and Khaleesi, get married and just be king and queen. What the fuck? These are artificial stakes. You guys love each other. You guys both have a right to the fucking throne. Get married and live happily ever after. Why on earth do you need 100% of the throne?
Yes.
Did it break your heart to have to?
Or was it fun?
It was both.
Oh.
It was both. It was definitely both. When I first read this season, I needed a cool down then. Like I was like, the fuck?
I gave you my life.
What do you mean? This is really extreme. And then had I suddenly felt like I was carrying the weight of a lot on my back.
Yeah.
And was going, I owe her so much. And at every turn, the boys were right. At every turn, I was hired to do a job and I believe in them wholeheartedly. And I was like, you're asking me to do something really difficult here, guys. And I'm going to fucking do it for you in the best of my abilities. On one side, I was like, how juicy. Oh, my days. As an actress to be able to do this.
Yeah.
Like flip that fucking shit. And ooh. And then on the other side, I'm like, and it hurts. It hurts so much. I love her so much. I fucking, oh my God. And so it was a kind of combination of that the entire way through. But it was the hardest thing I've ever had to film.
Well, I got to tell you a really funny personal way it intersected our life is one of my best friends from home, Ken Kennedy, his daughter.
Excellent name.
So fucking beautiful and cute and 1 year old or 2. Her name is Khaleesi.
Wonderful.
Khaleesi Kennedy. And so I kind of called him and I was like, hey, bud, are you up to date on the episodes? And he goes, we're not, but I'm aware. And I'm like, oh, wow, because this name stood for total awesome female empowerment, Joan of Arc, fucking Amelia Earhart.
Which it still does.
She still does,
Well,
but
so that's-
definitely
yeah.
taking a turn. She's also a megalomaniacal, fucking power hungry.
Right. Yeah. And it's a really tough one to, because then, I don't know if you saw, but at the end of on my last scene, I wanted to bring her back to season 1. I wanted to bring the energy back to season 1. I wanted to have her be this kind of, like, there's nothing then left to do but to be entirely hopeful and optimistic and ultimately deluded.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just to try and bring back some of the open-heartedness that she had. But if you really look at her, if you really look at what she's been through, the fact that she's been on the run her whole life, she's been abused her whole life, she's been dealing with the weight of responsibility of carrying her family's legacy her whole life. It has landed on her shoulders, and she's decided to move forward with that. When it comes down to this thing of people start betraying her, people start to leave her, people start to devalue what it is that she's made. She's killed people all the way up until this point, and now someone's going to turn around and say, maybe no. And it's
not
like,
yours.
I did this because it was like all or nothing. I went all in, and now you're telling me that I can't, and it becomes like its own addiction. And so that scene, looking at the bell tower right before she decides to just do it anyway.
Carpet bomb.
Carpet bomb. Miguel and I, the director, had this huge discussion about it where it was like, it was essentially getting into the mind of an addict who just, you're at the bar and you're holding the fucking drink in your hand and you don't want to fucking drink it, but you can't help it because you're so damaged and you're so hurt and you're so vulnerable that there is nothing left to do. Everybody has left you.
Yeah.
There's my pitch.
Yeah, that's
I
a
like
great,
it. I'm in. Well, and I've been there. And you, by the way, when you're holding the drink, you're like, this is going to fuck everything up.
Yeah.
And I don't care.
And I don't care.
Yeah. I was like, are they saying to us, it's just in her fucking genes. The dad was nuts. He was the Mad King. Is that what we calling him?
Yeah.
The Mad King. Is the statement like, oh no, she was always going to be that way. It's in her blood. In the same way that the Lannisters are kind of, that's not it though.
I don't think it's that at all. I think it's that, so she was an orphan. And she was raised by a brother who was clearly fucking her.
Yeah.
Literally.
Oh, yeah.
And then was sold like a slave to a huge warrior.
Yeah.
And she
the
then...
most gorgeous warrior ever.
The most delightful, gorgeous warrior you'd ever seen. But was... And from that, found weirdly, he taught her to then find strength within her own femininity and turn around and was like, okay, how about we do this differently?
Yeah.
And then went on in that legacy and wanted kids and then realized that she birthed dragons instead and was never going to have them and tried to fall in love and realized that that would never work and became this vessel for leadership, for power. And she spent her whole life trying desperately, as we all do, to not be our parents. To be something different.
And the joke's always on us. We're our parents.
There you go. But I think the result of what it made her do was nothing to do with her parents, nothing to do with the Mad King, but everything to do with her going, I have to prove that I'm enough. I have to prove that everything that I've sacrificed up until this point is enough.
Yeah. You can't quit on the 99-yard line. I know you don't get any of these sports references, but that's a
You
football.
don't know.
An
She
idea.
might get them.
She got batting 1,000.
Yeah,
got
she
that,
might love sports.
which I had to explain to you, as you recall. Okay, so that brings me up to
So there.
another question. How the fuck do you memorize Dothraki?
Oy vey.
I
my
mean, honestly,
God.
I would need an earpiece or
I
something.
cried a lot. So the first couple of seasons, it was funny. No, it wasn't funny. But I made it funny because I was just like, oh my God, because I just wouldn't get it. And then like David and Dan would be like, babe, it's cool. Like, no one knows what you're fucking saying, honey. It's all good. Like, we want you to care about the other scenes. We don't need you to care about the Dothraki scenes. And I'm like, I must say the right lines. Fuck you, this is my craft. I need to know what I'm fucking saying. Let's say, Dax, you're going to learn some Dothraki. You're going to do this scene on Dothraki tomorrow. Here's what you'll get.
Please tell me.
You will get your words in English and you'll know them. Coming up to the day, you will get an MP3 of David Peterson doing Dothraki 2 ways. He will say it in 3 ways, sorry. He'll say it in English on the MP3, and then he will say it in slow Dothraki, and then he'll say it in speeded up Dothraki. So I'm musical, so I listen to it. And then you have on a hard copy or on your computer or whatever, you'll have the phonetic spellings of Dothraki. You'll never know what the words actually mean. I'll know, let's say I wanted to say, hey Dax, I love your t-shirt.
Yeah.
Then in Dothraki, that might say t-shirt, Dax, love, I.
Sure.
But I would never know what that was because it would never be written in that way. So I would make up what I believed the words to mean because you'd get some kind of repetitions. But essentially, I would sit there for days on end and just listen over and over and over and over again. And then I would say it back and then I'd cover it and then I'd say it back and then I'd cover it and then da-da-da. And then I would tidy my room and say it over and over and over and over again. And then I'd say it to Belfast and then I'd say it to the oven and then I'd say it to whoever. And then I'd get in the makeup chair and be like, let me tell you a little something. And then I'd say it in Dothraki.
Do you have any of it still memorized?
No.
No.
Genuinely, no. I think it was traumatic.
Yeah.
But so the last season, for season 8, that last final speech that I do in Valyrian and in Dothraki, I mean, it took me at least a month. The night before was crying up at night being like, I don't know these words and these are the most important words she's ever said. It's culminating in a really, really, really vital bit of the scene. You have to learn them so well that you can act.
Yeah, of course. Like you got to be able to throw those fucking guttural sounds out and know what you're saying with your eyes.
They should have given you a prompter.
I know. Well, I had a gorgeous dialect coach.
Oh, that helps.
Who would kind of be like within sight. But if it was a really long day and I hadn't done all of the prep that I needed to do and I would keep forgetting it, then I would just tear myself apart.
Well, I went right in my head while you're telling me this to me being in my 20s on this show. And I would imagine I'd be like, all right, time to work on my Dothraki. And I would like, I'm going to do it over some beers. So did you ever like, oh, I'll do that. I'll have some wine and do this. And then you wake up in the morning, you're like, oh, I didn't retain a goddamn thing of everything.
Oh, yeah. And those were the bad days. Those on the days when I was like, I don't need to do 9 hours of this. I needed to do 9 hours of that. You needed to. Because then also the crew never knows what the fuck you're saying. So you don't know where you're starting from. So you'd have to just keep going back. And then I'd be like, can we go way back? Can we go to the beginning and da-da-da? Oof. And then people would be like, oh, that sounds like a stupid word. And I'm like, I know. You're throwing me off.
Wow. I don't think we haven't had someone on where we were a crazy super fan of their show.
It's true.
I have more questions about the show than I've ever had about someone's show.
When this character took the turn.
Yes. Season 8.
Season 8, yes. You're not on social media, right?
I'm on Instagram.
You are on Instagram.
I am. I'm very selective with my Instagram. I'm a lazy Instagrammer.
Got
so
it.
So anyone who's listening and is like, why don't you post more?
Everyone, along these 7 seasons has been like probably just putting a bunch of like really positive energy at you, I would guess.
Yes.
And then there's a big turn where I assume a lot of people are putting some negative energy out towards you.
This is where it pays off that I've spent my entire time of Game of Thrones never believing anything that anyone ever said, never taking anything that anyone said at any real value.
Yeah.
Really just like my negative voice shouting far louder than anyone saying anything nice because I was always in the back of my mind. I was like, oh, great, we're successful now. We won't be tomorrow.
Right.
There's every chance that we won't be tomorrow. So for that, I'm base level aware. I don't Google myself. There's a lot of stuff that I don't hear. And now, regardless, people have very sweetly said lovely things.
Good.
And I've got a lot of fan theories and I've got a lot of like, if I had it my way.
Right. Oh, I'm sure.
I'd be doing it different.
I'm sure.
But I definitely, the worst thing that anyone said, and this was painfully close to the show, I was at my mum's house, which is in the countryside in Oxfordshire, and I went to Waitrose to get some food, and it was the day after episode 5. Right? We had to. It was 6 episodes, wasn't it? The final season.
Yes.
Yeah.
So this is episode 5. So this was I had never seen what that looked like until I watched it on TV, obviously, because I'd only done the green screen stuff. And I was in Waitrose, and this woman looked at me and went, "Well, you're brave to be outside."
Oh my.
And I was literally like, ow.
Yikes.
Oh my God. I started welling up in the shop and was like, oh, that I didn't need that. Thanks, honey. Okay, bye now. Bye. I don't need any food. I'm just going to leave. But that was it.
Okay,
that was the
good.
beginning, middle, and end of my bad experiences with regards to that. But I was also like, I'm a human being.
Yeah.
And I'm not.
I'm an actress.
I'm not Daenerys.
No.
Yeah.
I'm actually Emilia. I cheated on my fiance on a TV show, and I am on Twitter. And I opened up my Twitter, and it was just like, "You fucking piece of shit!" Like they're telling me that. Like,
Yeah. People
fucking
conflate.
dog. They conflate.
Yeah.
And on that topic, that was probably my only last thought I wanted to bring up on Game of Thrones is poor King Joffrey.
Yes.
Oh, right. For that same reason.
Because
Yeah.
I mean, by the way, one
Jack.
of the best villains I've ever seen in my life. Like I have
Exemplary.
never been screaming for people to kill somebody like
Yeah.
I was him. And I do think I read at some point years ago that like he just didn't want to act after
He
that.
didn't want to act after that. He's so bright, but it wasn't because of that experience. I think he's a super, super, super smart boy.
Okay.
He went to go study, I think, philosophy at Trinity. Like he's good.
wow.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was not for the character's sake that he didn't want to act, I think. It was that he was like, I'm going to use my brain a little in a different way.
Oh, that's great.
So I think it was much more that. I think it was much more that he was like, cool, I had a fun experience being an actor as a kid for a minute, and now I'm going to go off and like study and see where that takes me. Yeah. No, Lena used to get such awful things shouted at her down the street.
Sure.
Yeah.
Shame.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay. You've had an incredible career even outside of that show, which of course that's why I feel guilty though. I've spent so much time on it. But you did Breakfast at Tiffany's. Was that your Broadway debut?
Oh, yeah.
Uh-oh. Why are you
It
saying
was not good.
It wasn't?
It was not reviewed well.
Oh, it
It was
wasn't?
not good. It was a difficult. I'm desperate to get back on the stage. Desperate,
Okay.
desperate. Because the drama school, I want to be on the stage.
Yeah, and you're
Loads.
well, I'm so sad that it wasn't a good experience. Simply because of the reviews, or did you have fun doing it?
The rehearsal process was the happiest I think I'd been ever. Ever. I was like, Britain, New York, and doing the rehearsals and having a fabulous time. And then it was just a bit of a kickbollock scramble of trying to get everything together. I sort of think we maybe should have had that play tour. Figure out what it was. Brush it up a little bit, then pop it on
Okay.
Broadway. It was a bit raw. I'm desperate to get back on the stage and prove to myself that I can still do it.
Well, you will.
Thanks.
And then my next question is, you did Terminator.
Uh-huh.
And did you work with Arnold?
I did.
Do you know I do an Arnold?
It's so good. Hey, it's gonna be a good day. Thanks, Arnold. Yeah.
Did you like Me Before You?
Yeah, Thea Sharrock, the wonderful director, I have the enormous joy of being godmum to her son. Like, we're tight. We're close.
And will
It's
you
a
guys
beautiful
do more
thing.
stuff together?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, what was it like doing Star Wars?
Really interesting because that's public knowledge that everything
What happened?
that the directors
Oh, that they switched, right? It started as
and
the
all of that, and then Ron took over.
Ron Howard.
Yeah.
And where were you guys at for that? Would you go to all
London.
crazy? Oh, just London.
London.
I guess what I'm curious is like you're in Game of Thrones, biggest TV show of all time, and then you get offered Star Wars, which I think is maybe the biggest property of all time in film.
Yeah.
And you know, are you over the imposter complex, or does it get triggered
No, that
when
was
you get Star Wars?
Yeah.
Okay,
oh
good,
yeah.
good.
Yeah. 100,000,000%. And also because now that the movie's done and everything, I wasn't a big Star Wars fan growing up. Really, I mean, like my brother was, so by proxy, I was aware of it and I knew what was going on. But so it was double imposter syndrome, where I was like, this is amazing, and I'm aware of all these things, and I've seen the movies. It was fun and it was new and it was different and there was all of these things going on. But like, yeah, with each new job, I get a new imposter syndrome for sure.
Yeah. You have two movies are in post production. Which one's coming out first? You should at least plug that, right?
Last Christmas.
Yeah, tell me about Last Christmas.
Last Christmas, Emma Thompson wrote this movie.
Oh, I love her.
Love her.
I mean that
What a queen.
that was the single greatest filming experience of my life because
It was.
Emma Thompson is
That's
just a
great.
total G. So Paul Feig directed it. Emma Thompson wrote it with her husband Greg, who is phenomenal. And then now I have the amazing luck of being their pals.
Oh, yes.
And I count my blessings every day. I went and go stay with them, and they've got a place in Scotland. She's my true life.
What's the premise?
You meet this girl who is just a complete fuck up and a total mess and utter chaos and doesn't really know what's going on with her life, and we kind of don't really know why. And she finds her way back to herself. But she has been incredibly ill at a period of her life, and it has resulted in this. But it's kind of tapping into this age bracket of living on mum and dad's sofa. She is homeless because she would rather live anywhere than at home.
Okay. All right.
So she screws a lot of guys and she drinks a lot of alcohol.
Does it mean the Christmas of the previous year, or this is the last Christmas?
It means the song.
Oh, there's a song?
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
George Michael's song, Last Christmas.
oh
There you go.
last
There you go.
Christmas,
That's
I
it.
gave you my heart.
That's it.
Sing it. Yeah, it's that.
I got to do this, though, if I sing in front of Monica, because it gives
I can
her
only
gross
take so
outs.
much.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Oh, okay.
Of
fair
looking
enough.
at the face. you
Got
know?
it.
When does that come out?
8th of November.
The 8th of November.
Yes. We had so many corpsing scenes, which is, where you laugh so hard that you just can't carry on.
And you call it corpse scene?
Yeah, that's,
Oh,
yeah.
I like that.
It got to the point where Emma was like, replace her with a fucking pillow because I can't deal with it. She's making me laugh too much. It was joyful. It was just joy. It was wonderful.
There's nothing better than that.
Yeah.
When you really cannot get it together.
Oh
in a
my God,
scene.
yeah. And
I
it
live
hurts.
for that.
Yeah.
I had a scene like that with Nate Tuck, but Brothers Justice, he's asking me what kind of medications I take for my erectile dysfunction.
Sure.
And I'm being so serious about it. And we couldn't get through the scene with him there. So then it was like, you can't be in the room. I just got to say it just be on the camera. So, but then he went into the kitchen and I started doing it and I could hear him laugh in the kitchen. So then we had to remove him from the fucking whole apartment. He couldn't be anywhere near me. Amazing. It's so fun. That's like, I mean, it's cool to be in good stuff, but who gives a fuck on your deathbed? It's all about like your time making the shit. It doesn't matter.
That's exactly it. On your deathbed, no one's going to ask you how many movies you did.
Yeah, or what they made or any of that stuff.
Exactly.
It's all about laughing with Emma.
Yes, it
Oh,
really
you
is.
lucky
That is
gal.
life.
Okay, November 8th, last Christmas. I'm very excited about that. Okay, now, you have had, by the way, you're the second person we've talked to, I think it may be even the third, that is young and has had an aneurysm.
Wow.
Yes. Do you know the actress?
Aubrey Plaza. She had a stroke.
I listened to you guys.
Yes.
I listened to Aubrey. Yes. I was fuck. I was
Isn't
like,
that crazy?
Yeah, it's mental.
Yeah.
But what she had, it seemed, was like a lot of strokes
Yes.
that then kept happening.
Yes.
Which is a slightly different thing to what I had, which was two aneurysms. So basically, when your brain is being formed, I'm going to bore you with a brief bit of science that someone will probably write in, or you even will look up and be like, that was wrong, Emilia. You should probably know about this a lot more than you do. So yeah, I was born with a weakness on my brain. So when your brain is being formed, you've got your one cell and there's a weakness, and as it forms into the two sides, that weakness becomes mirrored. So I had that season 1 of the show. We wrapped that. I went to LA for the first time to do press. Came home, was not in a good place, feeling really funky, and then was in the gym and
Can you
had a
explain
brain
the
hemorrhage.
funky feeling a little bit
Yeah,
better?
because I'm a hypochondriac and I think...
No,
Were
it
you
was more the
confused?
enormity. No, more the enormity of the fact that I just wrapped this show and had done press and was just in like a, I don't know what is going on. I feel really strange and kind of panicky and kind of stressed and oh my God, and this is crazy and and it was more that. So I had a lot of pressure in my head anyway.
You're like in the countryside, living in a bubble, and then you parachute into like the most glitzy, glammy,
and
all that
it
shit.
fucked me up for 100%.
Yeah.
So I always see the brain hemorrhages as a good thing. Not as much a good thing, but as like it's good that they happened to me at this time, weirdly, I think.
Okay.
Here's my positive spin on it. So anyway, I'm in the gym and it hemorrhages. And so I'm in the plank and I get this pain unlike any other kind of, like it's hemorrhaging of any kind. Blood in the body where it's not meant to be is just probably the most amount of pain you could handle as a human.
Ooh.
And so this is happening and my trainer was like, what do you mean you have a headache? You're in the plank. Like I expect your abs to hurt, but not your head.
Yeah.
Right.
So I crawl to the loo and then be violently ill and the headache is crazy. And I'm mid throwing up going, I'm losing some part of my brain. I can sense this. I don't know how I
Really?
knew that if you throw up and you have a headache, that those two things mean brain damage.
And is your focus, like, are you
Coming in
feeling
and
that,
out.
you're having like, you're in and out of...
Oh my God, yeah. So basically in that moment where I was like throwing up, mad headache and like crazy amounts of pain. So I started wiggling my fingers and my toes and I was like, I said my full name. This is where that's like a weird twitch that I do now. If I ever feel weird, I say my full
All
name
9
to double check that
names.
then I was like, who are your parents? What was the last thing that you shot? think of a bit of Dothraki, fight. You will not be brain damaged. I will not be brain damaged. I'm just about to be an actor. This is not how this shit's going to go down. I have to live.
Yeah.
Like I have to live. Like this is not going to happen here. Anyway, so the ambulance comes a little bit
Really
and
quick.
then...
One of the times it's not awesome to be famous.
Oh, yeah.
Because like when you're leaving the commode where you've just thrown up and you're all fucked up and people are like, hey, I want to... You're like, no, this is a very bad time, but for real a bad time.
Yes, exactly. Well, this was early enough for no one to really know who I was, but the second brain hemorrhage, that was a fucking issue. Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
That was like, I don't like this. But so anyways, I have this thing and then I survive by the skin of my teeth.
You get rushed to the hospital.
Get rushed to the hospital. No one knew what it was.
No one knew what it was.
So no one knew what it was for a while.
Oh, for how
So
long?
I wasn't allowed any painkillers for a while.
Oh, Jesus.
I'm in like A&E in North London on a Saturday night.
Ooh.
At this point, and the nurse who saw me, her husband was a brain surgeon, and she was like, I think I know what this is, let's get you in for a brain scan. And then they saw that there was massive amounts of bleeding on the brain. They're like, right, so now we know what to do. I managed to have the good fortune of getting to the right hospital to take care of that. The next morning we have the surgery, so they go through an artery in your groin.
Your femoral
And they go up,
artery.
exactly, and they go up around your heart and into your brain.
Oh my goodness.
And so where the weakness was in the vein in my brain, the blood, as it pumps around your body faster and faster and faster, it forms a little bubble on that weakness because it's not robust enough to just keep it going. And the brain hemorrhage itself is that bubble bursts.
Is it an embolism before it pops? Is it an embolism and then when it pops, it's an aneurysm?
No, it's an aneurysm before it pops.
Oh, and then when
it's
it
a
pops,
hemorrhage.
Is a hemorrhage. Okay.
Yeah.
If I know what embolism is. Okay.
So then as your blood is continuing to pump around your body, it's now escaping out. And when that happens, you lose a bit of your brain. Because as soon as there's a part of your brain that doesn't get blood to it, it just dies in that moment. It's what a stroke is. And so they got where that hole was and put copper wires to stop the blood from escaping any further and continue going around.
Oh my God.
And because I was young, I didn't lose anything that was affected my cognitive
motor
functions.
control or...
Exactly. But I saw that I had, and they saw that I had another one on the other side. Anyway, so 3 weeks in hospital, hell, terrible. Had this thing called dysphagia, which is essentially where you're locked in. So you can't speak, but you know what's going on.
Oh, Emilia.
For 3 weeks you had that?
No, I had that for about 3 days. Again, I was young enough that they ended up pumping me full of adrenaline that got rid of it.
Ooh.
Yeah, so that was
you're-
super difficult.
It's got to be the most claustrophobic kind of panicky feeling you could have.
Yeah,
not being
it just
able
wasn't
to-
making any sense. Yeah, it was
my
pretty
God.
dark.
Oh my gosh.
But anyway, so we get through all of that and I'm okay. And then I leave hospital and within about 5 weeks, I was back to work.
Can I ask you a really quick question about that? At any point during this, are you like, oh my God, this is going to be public, this is embarrassing, or I just don't want to be associated with it? Did any of that cross your mind?
They had to wait to figure out that I wasn't going to die before they could tell HBO what had happened.
All right.
And that was probably about as much as I was ever going to tell anyone.
Right. And isn't it funny? Because why? Like, I agree. I can relate, yet why?
I know. Well, I
like
think-
it's some weakness of character that you had an aneurysm or something.
I think because I was so... It was almost like it was never even an option of me saying it to anyone.
Yeah.
Because I was just like, well, I need to figure out what this is. And I don't want to give that to anyone else to figure out for me what they think it is. Because I need to work out what this is for me. And I want to get back to work. I'm fucking here on a wing and a hope and a prayer. I'm like a young Brit with zero experience who's probably not very good. And Lord knows what this is. And I'll be fired in a second. So my God, I need to prove to them that I'm worth being here. And me having a brain hemorrhage isn't going to help.
Well, it's just a deeply personal experience that
Yeah.
anything that deeply personal, you're probably not excited to have
Exactly.
the world in on.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we didn't really tell many people. The second season was really difficult because you have this thing called fatigue, regardless of whatever kind of brain injury you get, whether you have the misfortune of having a serious lifelong injury or whether you're just like me and you miraculously escaped with everything intact, but you do have fatigue. So filming hours were just like I was supping on morphine trying desperately to get through the day, like just really
But then did you feel like, were you nervous that was going to affect acting? And
I thought the thing that was gone was my ability to act.
Right.
And I consistently think that. Then the second one happened and then I was really like, well, that's it. I'm never going to act again. This isn't.
The first one was 2013 or no?
The first one was 2011 and the second one was 2013.
After the first one, do you go, oh my God, I'm vulnerable to this? Are you obsessed with it happening again?
No, the first one happened and it wasn't, is this going to happen again? Because they were like, you have this one on the other side. We just need to be aware of it. But it was more that, so this is my experience of being nearly fatally ill, is that you're in hospital for X amount of time. And this goes for anything. You could have cancer, you could have a broken leg, you could be getting your tooth out, whatever it is. You're in hospital for X amount of time. And in that time, everyone is telling you that you are sick. Everyone is telling that you need to take care. Everyone is telling that you need these beeps and you need these pills and you need these things and you need to be watched and it's constant and you're surrounded by other sick people. And then you fucking leave and you're like, oh, all I wanted was fresh air and a bath and now I'm here and I'm not allowed to be here because you've just told me for 3 weeks that I'm ill.
Yeah.
And then I need to take care of and what am I? I'm not safe. I don't feel safe. And with brain injuries, I found that it's not just me that thinks this, but as soon as that happens, it's where your brain is. It's where your personality is. It's where your soul is. It's where you is.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yes.
As soon as that becomes something you're calling into question, and that can be on any level with mental health as well, but especially with an injury where you're like, my body failed me.
Yeah.
How in God's name am I expected to wake up every morning and feel safe within myself? So you get super protective of yourself because you're like, I have this invisible thing.
Yeah.
You can't see that I'm sick, but I know that I am. So bit by bit, carefully, you build yourself back up and build your resilience back up and you build your kind of your trust back up in yourself. But it takes a second.
Yeah.
Then when you do, you're robust as fuck because you're like, hey, I saw the other side and I'm good.
I think that's the thing with trauma in general, which is like, oh, the trauma of being molested is simply that I believe that the people on earth were all benevolent and nice, and then someone shatters your worldview and you go, oh, at 8 years old, there are bad guys. There are people around that are going to try to take advantage of you. It's such a radical shift in your worldview that it's very scary. So similarly, you've never worried about your brain, your health.
We don't spend much time thinking about it.
Right.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden you go, oh, I'm in this world where my brain can hemorrhage.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
very worldview changing,
So
right?
so it was that for a minute, for a little while, and then I was doing the show on Broadway, end of my SAG medical, and I was like, I'll just go get a brain scan while I'm here and while it's paid for. And so I went in and they were like, whoa, this other one's doubled in size. We need to operate now and we'll have a preventative surgery. Nothing will go wrong. So I was like, okay, fine. Scary, but okay, fine. And in that surgery, as often happens, it went wrong.
Oh.
The coils got stuck and I had a major bleed.
Oh.
So it was a much bigger stroke. They woke me up on the table and were like, we need to crack your head open and fix this. Can you do that? So I'd gone to sleep being like, peace out, see you in 2 hours.
Yeah.
And I woke up in like the excruciating
Wake me up
pain.
when the Percocet's here.
Yeah, exactly. And so that was way more life or death than the last one. My mum and dad were there.
They came in.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
they shaved some of your head and
They were amazing. They didn't. I have a scar from here to here. So from my ear to like the very top of my forehead in the middle. And because they obviously knew what my job was, they shaved the minimal amount. So they kept some hair on this side and they kept some hair on that side. They didn't have to shave my
I
head.
can't tell a goddamn
you
thing
can't.
right now looking at you.
Thanks.
And what was the recovery time from that?
That was mega.
Mega.
Because with the other one, my body could handle it more. But when you have when someone cracks your brain, when they get listeners, you get a saw and you cut open your skull and then they stitch that puppy back together again. That's such an epic amount of trauma for your body.
Yes.
And then ironically, every time I left the hospital, I'd bang my head.
my
Every
God.
single time. Every taxi I got into, I was like, douche, damn it. It's the one thing I'm meant to be taking care
Oh
of.
my
And I can't take care of it.
Oh,
Wow.
But that was really difficult. I come from a family raised to be like, you're never allowed to say poor me.
yeah.
Like, no, pity is not a fucking emotion that we have in this household. So like take it elsewhere. And with the second one, I was just like, I'm trying really, really, really hard to not be like, why did it happen again?
Yeah.
But it sucked because I was only just getting over the first one and then the second one. And but all of these things led me to go, I'm in like the 0.0 percentile to have had what I've had and to survive with no major repercussions. Yeah. And now because they're both done, I have more of an understanding of what's going on in my brain than most people.
Yeah.
So I get to be like, oh no, I'm completely fine. Like I should never do cocaine. That's pretty much it.
Well, it's very good though.
I'm just fine. I'm
don't
good.
do it.
It smells great is what it is.
That's
It
good.
smells really
Just
nice.
get your nose in there.
Okay, so obviously as a result of all that, you started Same You, which is to broaden neurorehabilitation, access for young people after they have brain injuries or strokes.
Yes.
But here you've started a charity to help people. It's very admirable. And so what are the mechanics of that? How do you promote it, raise money? How do people get involved with it?
Yeah, so this was something that we started. It started as me wanting to get a sofa for the family room in the first hospital because my family would come in with like cricks in their necks, be like, yeah, we're fine. We're happy to sleep there. It's totally fine. And me being like, you guys look fucking uncomfortable and I'm in hospital and you look less comfortable than I do. So it started as that. And then I just wanted to give it back. I just wanted to give back so badly because I was so beautifully taken care of and I was so grateful to be alive, literally. And then the second one happened and I was like, okay, this is crazy. I'm alive again. How did that? I cheated death once more. This is absolutely insane. I have to help people because I was in the very fortunate position of being able to have a supportive, loving family and people around me to be able to hold me up and make sure that I was okay.
Yeah.
And this thing that I was talking about you leave hospital and you feel scared regardless of what the thing is. So there is this huge white space at the moment for brain injury, which is recovery.
Right.
You go in and they fix your brain, but no one fixes your mind. And it's such a head fuck, for want of a better phrase.
Yeah.
Dealing with that. So I wanted to be able to offer services to especially young people because there's so much more life you have yet to live when you then have to live with the knowledge and with the memories of an experience that either you're dealing with physically and mentally or just mentally.
Yeah.
We've got some really exciting things coming up with what we've been, some big news. But the other part of it is the Royal College of Nurses Foundation and I have partnered together and we're creating a nurse rehabilitation program that will train nurses to deal with brain injury in this new white space that deals with mind, body, soul. Because you leave a hospital and my goal with what this charity is for someone who's had a brain injury, for someone to stand next to them and to hold their hand and look at them in the eye and go, I can answer all your questions.
Yeah.
You are not alone. You are safe. I'm going to be here every second.
Great. So people who have been through it are now, is that the model?
Yes.
There's nothing more comforting than having someone who's been through the exact same thing as you have tell you, oh, and I'm on the other side of it, or I'm largely on the other side of it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. So how do you curate the folks that are going to volunteer or help with that?
Well, so we're 6 months old.
Oh, okay.
So we've been building it for like 4 years, but very, again, quietly. And I raised a bunch of money with this Omaze thing that I did there's a Spalding Research Center in Boston that is doing a huge amount of research into the effects of brain injury on young people singularly, and what are the main factors and how can we therefore change our care to be able to be focused on things that we should be focused on. So I raised money for that, and then we've got so much incoming that we're kind of trying now to figure out how best to manage all of those different things.
Right, how to pair people and all that.
Yeah, exactly, because we've got lots of people doing lots of kind of sports things for us, and then we've got this big exciting new development that's coming up, and in what ways can the people who are we were inundated with something we weren't expecting.
Oh, that's great.
When we first launched, we got more good stuff than we ever.
That's wonderful. Good. Now, today, what percentage of your thought goes to that?
Yeah, I mean, what happens is now I know for a solid fact that I'll never have another brain hemorrhage.
Okay.
Ever.
Okay.
But there is a miniature part of my brain that when I get a headache, which is not connected with. By the way, if you get headaches, you're not having a brain hemorrhage.
Right.
100%.
Monica.
Good to know. Good for me.
It
to
really
know.
isn't. Like
Yeah.
my surgeons, I was like, I'm getting headaches, and they were like, so do people. So do normal people. Normal people get
Right.
headaches. Drink water, you'll be fine. Do you
Yeah.
know what I mean? But every time I get a headache and it's really, really, really bad, there'll be a tiny little bit that'll be like,
A little panic.
Yeah.
And then I'll say, Emilia as well, Euphemia Rose Clarke 6 times in my head, and I'll be like, hey, crazy lady, everything's fine.
Kristen was doing this movie, Couples Retreat. We were in Bora Bora, and I was
Yes.
just there hanging, and I would jump off in the morning, the over the water bungalow.
Yeah.
I would jump off the railing into the water, and I did it one morning, and I landed really kind of hard, enough where I was like, oh, fuck, I feel like I might get a concussion. I went inside. I wrote notes everywhere, all over the hotel room. You jumped off the balcony at,
Yes. Oh, well
9:30
done.
a.m.
Yeah.
I just started frantically writing notes everywhere because I'm like, I'm going to be on a loop here by myself. She's filming. And so
Oh, that's
she
so smart.
came back to the room. There was just notes everywhere. There was like, you did this at this time and blah, blah, blah. At least know what that panic is like of like, oh, fuck, I got to prepare right now while I'm still thinking clearly.
Yeah. No, exactly. So the only thing that is the repercussion for me is a kind of
Muscle memory trauma thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to tell you something, Amelia. You deliver in real life.
Yeah, you do.
You really deliver. in real
Yeah,
life.
you do.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah. It's
That
hard
is
to live up to
so
the Khaleesi.
sweet. Thank you.
We love you. We're so
Thank
flattered
you.
you like the
Thank
show.
you so
and
much.
Thanks for giving
Love
us so
the
much of your
show.
time.
He's an armchair expert.
Well, we adore you. Please come back.
I sure will.
And now my favorite part of the show, the fact check with my soulmate, Monica Padman. Last Christmas, I made a small fart. Then this Christmas, it tore us apart. Last Christmas.
Is that it?
Yeah, it's only 2 verses, and I didn't
Two
even do
verses?
it. That's not a verse.
2 lines.
2 lines. And I didn't do it as like I did yesterday. I had it really dialed yesterday, but now
really?
I've lost it.
And you did it on purpose because this movie Last Christmas?
No, but that's a fun coincidence.
I didn't know if you knew what you were doing. This is for Emilia's.
Last Christmas, I made a small fart. Then I realized it tore us apart.
Oh, wow.
That's still not it. What are the real words?
Last Christmas, I gave you my heart. The very next day, you gave it away.
You tore it apart?
I think it's you gave it away.
Oh, I thought it
think
rhymed
it's a
with
sad
fart.
song.
Oh, but it doesn't even rhyme?
Yeah.
I gave you my heart. The very next day, you tore it apart.
No.
that
It's
sounds like it should
rhyming
be.
day and away.
Oh my
I
goodness.
gotta teach you about rhymes.
Yes,
now?
please do. How do they work?
Last Christmas, I gave you my heart. The very next day, you gave it away.
Yeah, that's right.
Yes.
Oh.
I'm never right about lyrics. I feel good.
The very next day you gave it away?
Yeah. It's a sad song.
Okay, hold on though. Still, let's make it about a fart.
Okay.
Because that's why she gave his heart away.
Okay.
Okay. Last Christmas, I made a small fart. Very next day, you threw me away.
Because of the fart?
Yeah, it ended their relationship.
Oh, man. That's a sad story, too.
I know. She did not want him to fart on Christmas. Not on a holy holiday.
She's really upset about
Jesus'
that.
birthday.
But
There's no
Jesus
time to-
probably farted.
That's a great question.
Did
if
he
he
ever
was the
fart?
son of God, there's no reason he would have needed to fart unless God was like, I want my son to know what it's truly like to be human. So he must have gas to truly understand these creatures I created.
Okay, but also Jesus was real and he farted.
Well, yes, there really was a man named
Jesus.
Jesus Christos.
Jesus was a nice man.
Clearly, carpenter,
Yeah.
great message.
And
Forgive thy neighbor.
I'm sure he farted. Has there
Do you
ever
think they
been
smell awesome? If he can turn water into wine, someone was pointing out that all the miracles he performed, modern man could perform. So he turned water into wine, which if you had Kool-Aid back then, 0 BC, and you added Kool-Aid to water, people would be like, what the fuck just happened? He made this into wine.
But it's not wine. It's Kool-Aid.
But they wouldn't know that until they didn't get drunk.
Okay, well, this is a stretch. This is a big stretch.
He turned water into wine. He walked on water. I can
Yeah.
do that. I can water ski. I can jet ski. I can
Okay.
all ways to walk on water. He might have just been from the future, from 1989. Kool-Aid, jet skis.
Okay.
He parted the seas.
How do you do that?
I can't part a sea, but I could build a dam.
That would just stop a sea.
What if I built 2 dams and then just emptied the middle?
Okay. Sure.
This is a bad example.
Sure.
Anyways, we're getting
They're
distracted.
all, let's be honest, bad examples.
No, the Kool-Aid one's really good.
No, it's not, because that's not wine.
But
That's just sugar.
Well, no, there's food coloring.
Sugar and food coloring. That's all
But
Kool-Aid
if
is.
you have to imagine you're a 12 BC person, you've never seen red fluid, right? Other than blood.
Sure.
Point is that person's going to write down, I watched this man perform a miracle. He turned water into wine. My point is I could go back to 12 BC right now with a packet of Kool-Aid and they would think I turned water into wine. That's my point.
You'd be tricking them.
Of course.
Right.
Of course.
Anyway, Last Christmas.
Yes, is a movie starring
Emilia Clarke. And you didn't even mean that? That's
I didn't.
crazy.
That's really crazy, isn't it? Because I started singing it yesterday.
Wow. I wonder if you subconsciously remembered that because we were talking about it for
I know
her
exactly
episode.
what it is.
Okay.
Because it's too coincidental. It just confirms that I'm in your father's simulation.
Oh. Because my dad cares about this, or?
Well, it's his simulation. So there's going to be lots of coincidence.
Oh, all right.
Okay.
It seems like the architects are paying a little too much attention to detail if they're making this coincidence, because my dad wouldn't really care about this.
No, he wouldn't. He wouldn't.
At all.
Not at all.
So
but he
it's
needs
really
this
attention
show
to
to be
detail.
good for his simulation.
Okay.
So the architect planted the seed to me yesterday. I'm accidentally doing it. It's perfect timing. It looks like I'm a genius and I came up with a song for her thing. I mean, I'm using the word genius loosely.
Yeah, I wouldn't quite say that.
Right. Anyways, I do think that this is all part of his.
We've been talking about the topic of genius lately.
Yes. Yeah, it's been a long-standing. It's not a debate. We're just like fleshing out some like thoughts on what is genius.
Yes.
And you have a kind of specific definition, which I think holds water.
Yeah, because I guess me and you were sort of butting up against the idea of talent versus genius.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they're very separate. And I think you think they're a little more mixed.
I do, yeah. Especially when you get into like a realm of only 4 people can do it on planet Earth out of 7 billion people. When you get into that realm, to me, that points to genius.
Yeah.
And I understand where you don't think so. I think the point you made, which is really good, is incumbent on a genius, or to be defined as a genius, you must further your discipline and break new ground.
Yes, and you have to be seeing whatever it is in your field. You have to be seeing things like 4 steps ahead. Like you have to be anticipating where the field is going to go, see things that no one else can see. And also connected to that is like starting something from scratch.
Okay, again, but this is where I'll go like, okay, so Frozen 1, I read that script.
Yeah.
What Kristen did wasn't there. It wasn't on the page. Mm-hmm. And it pushed that thing in a direction I think was ultimately really positive and unique and fresh.
Totally.
And it was all her
talent
interpretation of that written script.
Yeah.
I think there's some genius there. I totally understand. I think you have a very valid point. I think we need room for like, they can't only be like writers. And I even mean writers in terms of like writers of theories, relativity, authors of things.
I wouldn't even call those people writers, though. They had to write it down, but to me, those are not writers. They're scientists.
Creators is what I guess I meant.
Yeah.
Do you have to be a creator to be a genius?
Well, I think implicit in genius is creation.
Do you think a dancer can be genius? Like some of these ballerinas or Mikhail Baryshnikov?
I think I would only categorize them as genius if they are making the dance up.
They invented a new discipline.
Right. They either invented a new discipline or they're choreographing these dances themselves. So they're seeing something out of nothing. Mm-hmm. But just being... I don't know if Mikhail Baryshnikov can do that, or he's just a phenomenal
executor of some other
phenomenal, hyper talented dancer.
Mm-hmm.
I'm more likely to put the person who created Swan Lake in the genius category as opposed to the dancer who can execute it, even though I think that person is incredibly talented.
Yeah. It's interesting. I just think that there's very few people that could have read Frozen and turned it into what she turned it into. Like, I don't think that's a skill barely anyone has. I can't think of another person that could have done it. That can sing and do that and make the character three-dimensional and create an archetype that we've not even seen in a Disney princess movie. Somehow, to get from that written script that I read to what it is, I think there's some genius there.
Yeah, that's nice. You think your wife's a genius. I think that's lovely.
Yeah.
I wrote something here that I wanted to talk about. I was listening to a podcast that I listened to.
The Bachelor podcast?
Yes, a girl that was on The Bachelor, Melissa Rycroft.
Is that the one we saw at beaches?
No,
Sandals?
but that was the same season. That was Molly and Jason. Jason was The Bachelor, and he picked Melissa. And then picked his second choice, Molly.
I loved how excited you were that they were there.
My God.
It made me like you so much more.
I get very excited by Bachelors.
I know in the revelation that you listen to a Bachelor podcast, I love.
I like it.
Yeah.
It's Melissa and her husband, Ty. And it's called Logically Irrational. I'm going to give them a big shout out.
Give them a big old shouty.
It's called Logically Irrational. They talk a lot about reality TV, which I'm not super up to date on. So I generally listen to the first half because that's them just chatting. And on one of the episodes recently, this is going to come really full circle because I heard this and then maybe they'll hear this.
Oh, gosh.
Wow,
Let's hope.
wow.
What if this just keeps spiraling up? Yeah.
Keeps bouncing back and forth. But they were talking about our episode with Kate and Ollie.
Yeah.
It was a huge pop out for me because I am
you were
in
just
my
laying in bed,
getting ready to go to sleep, turn this on.
And you're the subject of their talk.
Well, you are. And
Well,
when
you are.
We are.
We are.
I mean, I'm not.
You are.
But no, I don't come up once. But we as an entity are. It felt so weird.
Very meta.
Yeah, I don't.
It feels like the simulation.
Yes, my dad's simulation's getting a little out of hand.
It's pretty on the nose, yeah. He got like a package. Like, I think when he picked his simulation, it was like you could pick between like super realistic, a little heightened, or like fairy tale. And I think he might have picked fairy tale.
That's nice.
Yeah, good for him. If you're going to pick, why not do a fairy tale?
That's the truth. Who wouldn't pick fairy tale?
Well, some people love verisimilitude. Maybe he's like, I want it to feel extra real.
They just did Rosenbaum's podcast too.
Melissa and Ty?
I think so.
These aren't them. Okay, Wobby Wob was wrong. And I stopped, to be fair, I had stopped watching Bachelor a while ago, but I do, this is so embarrassing. I do sometimes watch old episodes of The Bachelor from that season. I have like 4 episodes downloaded on iTunes.
Yeah.
Every now and then I need to feel safe. I watch
Can I ask you some questions about this?
Sure.
I'm serious.
Yeah, sure.
So you're laying in bed.
Yeah.
And by the way, I've never heard them, so I'm not being critical of them at all. So I'm picturing you lying in bed and you're listening to your 2 favorite bachelors.
Well, one.
One?
She
wasn't on The Bachelor?
No. She was a contestant on the show. She won, but then got broken up with. But her podcast is with her current husband.
Oh, who was not on The
No.
Bachelor? Oh, okay. Okay, great.
Sorry.
I'm so sorry. Honestly, I'm trying my hardest to understand. So when you're listening, they're just chatting.
Yeah.
And it feels like, oh, they're in love. Is that what
is that the appeal?
Yeah. What's the appeal?
Well, I do like that, of course.
Yeah.
That's a nice.
Well, that's not necessarily your brand. It's not like you love romance stories.
No, I love romance stories.
Oh.
Oh my God.
Well, all the shows
don't
we've
know
watched.
anything
No,
about me.
listen. All the shows that we've consumed together in the last 6 years, they're not in the genre of romance. It's not. We don't watch 50 Shades of Grey.
Oh, I would not call that.
We don't watch Twilight.
No.
We don't watch romance movies or TV shows.
Well, TV shows, depending. There's normally a romance in most TV shows.
Oh, Game of Thrones.
Yeah, all the shows.
Yeah.
And I like that part.
They wouldn't be in the genre of romance. There's a genre of romance.
Okay, yeah.
Everything what's her name's been in that was in Wedding Crashers.
Rachel McAdams.
Rachel McAdams.
Oh.
Nearly everything she's in would be filed under the romance category.
You're right.
You know, there's certain directors, they direct romantic movies.
Yeah.
And so what I'm finding out is that you really like that.
Well, I do. I mean, I love rom-coms.
Well, I know you do. And yes, that's something you and Mindy share in common.
Oh, yeah.
Mindy Kaling, she loves her rom-coms, and you do too, and I knew that about you.
Right. And you think that's an Indian thing.
I think it's a, not Indian specific, but I think
growing up feeling like
excluded or
on the outside of those types of relationships.
Yeah.
It heightens those.
I think, yeah.
I'm sure that's all true.
Anyways, so when you're listening to them talk,
Yeah.
are you like, oh, I wish I was in this relationship?
No.
No. What feelings are you having during it? Do you get horny listening?
No,
Oh,
my
okay. Stop
goodness.
being offended. I'm just
No,
trying
they
to.
wouldn't like that you said
Oh,
that.
I'm sorry. That make you horny?
Yeah.
They would love that.
No, they're pretty conservative. Yeah. I don't know why. I just
Oh,
for
okay.
some reason I find
It's soothing.
them comforting. I think it's because she reminds me of an old time in my life.
Oh, okay. So there's like a nostalgia aspect to it.
I think.
Yeah.
But they have a fun banter, and I like
Well,
like
clearly
listening
they're
to it.
entertaining, or you wouldn't listen to them.
Right. So anyway, but they started talking about the episode, and I did get really like on edge.
You were waiting.
I was waiting to hear something
I
negative.
think you and I are so similar in that way.
Well, because she was talking about you and Kate's flirtiness and the way you communicate and
Yeah.
how like you
Even
clearly
when you typed this to me and I read the word flirty, I then prepared for a terrible outcome.
right. See,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
exactly.
Yeah,
And
like it was inappropriate or something.
yeah,
Yeah.
which and she was mainly just like questioning two exes together, talking. What does that bring up? And you know, should there be the flirtiness, or what would the wife think?
Right.
All these things. Anyway, but
Well, let's just make a statement really quick for America, because there were a few, very, very few, but there were a few comments on Instagram. You guys don't need to worry about Kristen.
yeah,
I don't do anything that Kristen hasn't approved or feel great about. So no one needs to worry. She's a very confident person. She knew Kate was coming in. She could care less.
yeah.
And she'll let me know if there's an issue. So no one needs to really be protective of her. She's
Agreed.
quite able to protect herself.
Yeah, and I mean, I think we all sort of operate under the notion that just because something ends doesn't mean it has to disappear, or that you have to shut off
Ignore it.
feelings completely, and you can sort of stay in healthy boundaries and keep these human relationships positive.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, but they only talked about it for a minute, but I was very on edge.
Did you feel like you were being filmed?
Yeah, I felt like they were like in my house or
Yeah,
something.
sure.
It was such a weird feeling.
It broke the fourth wall.
It's crazy.
Yeah, you loved it ultimately, right? Because it wasn't negative.
It was not negative.
Yeah.
And they said that they acknowledged that you were really smart. I liked that.
Oh, that makes me happy. Now I'm big fans. Wait, no, a big fan of theirs.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Okay. Khaleesi.
Yes,
Khaleesi.
Emilia Clarke. It was so exciting to have her.
She was so fun.
So fun.
Can I just say that?
Of course.
You know, you come to know her as the Khaleesi, and then you meet her, and she's this young, fun,
Yeah, she has sort of a lightness to her,
Yes.
which is sort of not what Khaleesi
no
is.
dragons.
She didn't bring her dragons, no, which I was a little disappointed about, but that's okay. Next time. Well, one of them's dead, or they're all dead. She's dead.
So everyone's dead.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert.
So you said prosecutorial, and then you wondered if that was a word.
Sure, I still do as you say it.
It is a word.
Prosecutorial. Oh,
It is a word relating to the institution and conducting of legal proceedings against someone in respect of a criminal charge. So you were right.
oh, I got lucky.
And then we talked about knighthood,
Oh, sure.
because you wondered, does that get passed down? Even though knighthood is something you earn.
Right. Can you just be born into,
Right.
like a lord? You're just born into being a lord,
Right,
right?
but that's a class, and knighthood
Okay.
is a thing that happens. But it says it's not inherited, must be earned, but knighthood grants nobility And at the instant of its dubbing, the new knight goes from being a commoner to being a noble.
And then all his progeny are nobles?
And the knight's nobility is inherited by the first generation of his or her offspring.
Oh, great.
So that's cool.
Do you think, and I'm just guessing, you've probably seen even bigger blind spots than this in my knowledge, but the thing I think I'm most ignorant about is the royal family. Would you say that's probably true?
You don't know a lot about it.
I don't know anything. When you say like Prince Charles should turn the throne over to Prince Henry or something, I don't know what you're talking about.
Sure. Well, I'm
not proud of it.
I don't think Prince Henry is a person. You're starting there.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I really am. I have missed it
That's
somehow.
okay.
I don't know how I don't know any of their names.
Well, should we watch The Crown?
Yes.
Because we'll learn about it.
Well, I know a little bit about Queen Elizabeth. Was that who The Crown's about?
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you?
No.
I don't think you know anything about
Prince
her.
Charles is one of them, right?
Prince Charles is Queen Elizabeth's son.
I know about the late Lady Diana. That was not a joke. I'm sorry to people who love Lady Diana.
Princess Diana.
Princess Diana. That was heartbreaking. So
Of course.
that was a tragic.
Of course
the
it
young
was.
lady.
It was horrible. It was horrible. You know who I wish we could have on? Prince Harry,
Okay, which
who's
one's he?
Princess Diana's son, youngest son, who's just now married to Meghan Markle.
Okay.
But-
Is that the redhead?
Yes.
I love him because
Yes.
he took those photos in Vegas with his butt cheeks out. And I was like, this guy seems like a good time.
Of course.
Do you know about that?
Yes, of course.
And I was like, oh, he's a normal person. He's got
Yeah.
his butt cheeks out in a hotel room. He's probably drunk.
That's why I want to talk to him, because it seems like he probably the most has sort of butt up against some of this royal stuff.
The
but
conventional.
he has sort of circled back around, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But I think he wrote like a long article or something about maybe paparazzi, like privacy and
Well, the
his
press
mom.
is very mean to his wife, right? And I think he
Yeah.
wrote something maybe in defense of her.
Right. And then also talked about his mom in that
Oh.
and how the press basically killed her.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oof.
Although the driver was drunk. Do you know that?
I didn't know that.
Yeah. The driver of that Mercedes, they were in a S500 Mercedes. I'll never forget that.
That's the part you
and
remember.
the driver had drinks while waiting to pick them up.
Oh, God.
So that it's funny because yes, paparazzi is a big element in it, but then I go to as well my fear of like people drive me all the time. I'm like, I don't know who's drunk.
You know, people drive everyone all the time now.
Yeah, and you don't know who's drunk. I had a
know.
fucking raging addiction, and I think the general population didn't realize.
Oof.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that part's scary.
Anyway, so
I like the redhead though. He
That's
had
Harry.
great fucking buns. He was some kind of athlete too, right?
probably rugby
Yeah,
would
soccer.
be my guess.
He's
or
in the
soccer.
military too, right? They all got to go to the military.
That I don't know about.
I think he was with like other cadets. Like now I feel like I'm knowing a bit about it.
You actually aren't. You're just saying a bunch of random stuff. You don't
Okay.
actually know anything.
I do like him though when he's invited on, and I'd love to talk to him.
Yeah, come on here.
I'm sure he listens.
I'm sure he's hearing it. Yeah.
He's probably having the moment you had about the Bachelor podcast. He's in his palace right now.
Yes.
And he's like on a 4-post bed. There's like hounds laying on the ground. And he's like, love, they're talking about us.
Or maybe he listens to Logically Irrational.
Oh.
And so when Melissa and Ty talked about our show, they was like, oh, there's this podcast.
You got to check this out.
That's,
Megan,
oh,
they're talking about us.
ew.
So bad.
It's not good
Like
at
started
all.
as English and ended as Australian in 3 words.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you said Star Wars is the biggest property of all time in film. So then today I was looking at media franchising. The biggest media franchise. Now that includes lots of things.
Merchandising.
Merchandising, video games, box office, and others. Pokemon.
This is so embarrassing. Now, I'm not speaking from a place of authority because I don't really know what Pokemon is, but what I have observed is that they're just
Pokemon.
blobs. I mean, it's so embarrassing to the world that that's the number one fucking prize. It seems so not creative. They're blobs, right?
Well, no,
animals.
they're little animals.
Barely.
What? Yes,
The cartoon.
they're
Aren't they
animated.
fucking completely uncomplex? And aren't they just circles and squares?
Look, they're doing something right. We can't.
Clearly.
95 billion.
95 billion, you guys, for blobs. Now,
Okay, I'll show you a
like
picture
colorful
of him.
blobs. And I thought
He's
it was for
yellow.
like 6-month-olds.
No, my God.
It's for older than 6 months old.
Yeah, remember Pokemon Go that like everyone was doing lately?
Oh, on their phone where there were Pokemons hidden all over Mons.
You'd find him.
Ooh, Pokemonica. That's a game you could play with your boyfriend.
Okay, look how cute he is.
Yeah, I could draw that. That's a problem.
No, you could draw Princess Anna and Elsa.
No, I could not.
Yes, you could. Kristen can. She drew one on one of the talk shows she just did. They had to draw their characters, and it was unbelievable.
She's shockingly good
She's
at
very good at drawing. And so are you.
Well,
you've been doing a lot of drawing lately, and it's been really good. It's been really good. I am really impressed by it.
You are the wind in my sails. And you actually got me thinking that, I might dedicate a day a week to it as I get older. Just sitting down and drawing.
Yeah.
What I do love is, my process is I draw a picture and then I have to think of what the bubble would say. And that's what's the most fun for me.
Yeah.
Is thinking of what the character is either thinking or what their plan is.
Yeah.
And that is really fun.
They're funny. And
I really want you to start doing it with me. Because I think you would really enjoy the part where you put a thought bubble.
Yeah, I like doing thought bubbles, but I'm not good at drawing like to an extreme.
I'm not good either.
Yes,
though.
stop.
Okay.
Stop.
Okay.
Because you drew a wrinkle in one of the boys' heads. And I just looked at that wrinkle and I was like, oh my God, I would never, just never think to draw a wrinkle.
No, the part
in
you
a boy.
the part you really were impressed with is that there was a gap between her shirt and her pants.
Forgot. Yeah, one of the pictures was a girl that her sunglasses fell off. She bent over and she farted.
So anyone could see this.
Yeah, so she was farting and
Well, she bent over to get her glasses.
And then she farted.
Because she went so quickly to get those glasses.
Yeah.
We don't know how her glasses fell off, but
they're just a little too big.
Ill-fitting.
Yeah. And there's this tiny gap between the back of her shirt and her pants. And I was like, oh my God, that's exactly what it would look like in life. That's exactly right. You'd bend over and your shirt would ride up just a little tiny bit and you would see just a tiny bit of back.
You know what
it was
I think
so
is
realistic.
happening? I think you're my mom. Like your apartment's going to be all my drawings
I can't wait.
pinned up all over your apartment like my mom would do or I would do for my kids.
Yeah.
I think that's what's happening.
You're my kid.
Yes, I'm your son, which makes sense because you're my wife's mom.
Yep.
And her wife.
Yep.
And her baby.
Yeah.
But I think the fact that you're her mom makes you my mom too. I think you're becoming my mom as well.
Your mother-in-law? Anyway, back to the fact that Kristen's an incredible drawer as well.
She's really good.
So good. And she drew that Anna, I don't know, it looked perfect.
Really?
Yes.
I got to see that.
You can't say just because you could have drawn Pokemon that it shouldn't be worth $95 billion because Kristen can draw Anna.
Okay, that's a good point.
All right.
You made a really good argument.
Wow, it took a long time to get there.
You
but
mounted
I did
a great argument.
I will say about Pokemon, $95 billion media franchising, but $1.75 billion box office, which you were, I think, talking about movies.
Yeah, I was.
Star Wars is above that, $9.49 billion. But it's not the most. The most
I know is Terrence Posner.
No. Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Oh, if you include all those.
Yeah, that's the franchise.
That doesn't seem fair. I think you could either compare it to Iron Man or you could compare it to...
No, Star Wars is multiple movies.
Well, now it is, but the first three were Luke Skywalker's story.
Yeah, but this isn't just the first three. This is the whole thing.
But if those three movies adjusted for inflation, I think is what. Oh God,
Jesus Christ!
I don't know why we ever talk about this.
Oh my God!
Yeah.
The amount of times you say adjusted for inflation.
Well, it's relevant, don't you think?
I don't think it would even come close to Marvel. I don't.
Well, but again, it's 3 movies versus now 14 movies.
Yeah, that's part of it.
Yeah.
Star Wars keeps making more.
Now they do. You're right. I guess, you know what? You're 1,000% right. When I said it, I was referring to the first 3, just for what it's worth.
Okay.
I'm never specific about it, though, so it's my problem.
Okay. So we don't know the difference between an aneurysm and an embolism.
Did you find out?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
It's kind of a lot of reading. An aneurysm is a localized abnormal weak spot on a blood vessel wall that causes an outward bulging, likened to a bubble or balloon.
So just the balloon, the vessel that's turned into a balloon, that's an aneurysm.
Yeah.
Okay, not that thing then exploding.
Although aneurysms can also be nidus for clot formation and embolization.
What is embolization? The exploding of an aneurysm?
No, she said hemorrhaging. As an aneurysm increases in size, the risk of rupture increases, leading to uncontrolled bleeding. Although they may occur in any blood vessel, particularly lethal examples include aneurysms of the circle of Willis in the brain.
Circle of Bruce Willis.
Aortic aneurysms affecting the thoracic aorta and abdominal aortic aneurysms. Aneurysms can arise in the heart itself following a heart attack, including both ventricle and atrial septal aneurysms.
I feel like my heart's blowing up just hearing about this.
I know. Okay. An embolism is the lodging of an embolus, a blockage-causing piece of material inside a blood vessel.
And then does it swell up around it or something because it's blocked?
Embolism may be a blood clot, a fat globule.
Ooh, globule?
A flat gobbler.
Fat gobbler.
A fat globule, a bubble of air or other gas, or foreign material.
Wow.
An embolism can cause partial or total blockage of blood flow in the affected vessel. Such a blockage may affect a part of the body distant to the origin of the embolus. An embolus in which the embolus is a piece of thrombus.
Oh my God. This is getting sexual. Thrombus.
It's called a thromboembolism. An embolism is usually a pathological event, i.e. accompanying illness or injury. Sometimes it is created intentionally for a therapeutic reason, such as to stop bleeding or to kill a cancerous tumor by stopping its blood supply. Such therapy is called embolization. We still don't really know, do we?
Nope. But my theory was that an aneurysm is an embolism that explodes. So that's dead
That's
wrong.
not it.
Yeah, that's
I'm going to have to ask Eric Topol to explain it in layman's terms, and then I'll get back to everyone.
We love Eric Topol.
Love him. That's all.
That's all?
Yeah.
Do you think she was pretty in real life?
Yeah, of course.
Well, I always ask you if you think the guys are handsome. I just want to be equal.
I think, you should.
Yeah, that's so pretty. Such round features.
We do talk a lot about round features on this episode.
Last night or 2 nights ago when I was drawing pictures, I drew one specifically to continue our debate.
Yeah.
It was someone with objectively round features talking to someone with very pointy features.
Sure.
But the guy with round features was pretty slow. And he thought he was agreeing with the guy with pointy features.
Yeah.
Because the guy with pointy features said, I love round features.
Yeah.
And then the guy with round features said, I love sharp angles too.
Yeah.
He didn't realize they were saying different things.
Yeah, I was really confused by that picture.
That was too abstract, probably.
So do you think round-featured people are dumb?
No.
Okay.
No. I think they're perfect.
Well, Emilia is perfect. Yeah. So we can say thank you for coming.
Thanks, Emilia.
For coming.
What an honor.
Yeah.
Talk to the queen.
It was.
The mother of drags. We love you, Emilia.
Bye.
Bye.